Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Erasmus Expeditions. We are here today with a special kickoff. This is going to be the first session in a trilogy that is Firefly themed. This is called Stepping Stones, and today's session is going to be called Dead Man's Hand. I'm really excited about this game. I've never run Cortex Prime before, and that's what we're going to be diving into today. Hopefully, I'm able to remember most of the rules. If not, well, too bad. But yeah, I'm super excited for this game. I've been a huge Firefly fan for a long time, and I'm really stoked to be bringing these 5 individuals together as a crew. But before we get started, I just want to go ahead and issue the same warning that I do at the beginning of all of my games, and that is, if foul language and immature subject matter are things that bother you, then this is not a game for you to watch. In fact, watching anything on my stream, on my channel, is probably a terrible mistake. But if those things don't bother you, then welcome. I'm glad to have you here. So I'm going to pass things over to my players real quick so that they can introduce themselves, tell you what they might have going on online, where you can find them, and I think then we're going to get started. So we're going to start with my brother from another mother, Jake.
Well, hey there. Yeah, I'm Jake from Mini Terrain Domain, and that is where you can find me. Usually on Monday nights running Scribes and Scrolls with Carrie, and on Thursdays running Dawnbringers with Jeremy as a player in that. I am super stoked to be back with this wonderful group with the addition of Carrie, and I will be playing Scoot McDuff.
Every single time I hear that name, it gets me. I'm telling you, I'm pretty sure that was a character in Tailspin. Pretty sure. But
it was it's a different name.
McCloud, something like that. Kit Cloud, something. I don't know. Anyways, yes, I'm super excited to have you, Jake, as always. Happy to have you playing another teenager. All right, next up we have first game on the channel, Carrie.
Yes. First of all, I can confirm it was Kit McCloud on that show. Tailspin, phenomenal program. I'm Carrie. You can find me on Monday nights playing Candlekeep Mysteries with Jake. I'm also over on Big Bearded Nerd one Wednesday a month. And we are coming up on our last session of Mythos Investigators over there where we play Call of Cthulhu. But never fear, that show is going to continue on Mini Terrain Domain. So that's pretty exciting. And then I'm just kind of here and there elsewhere on the internet. I am playing Lily in this game, and I'm very excited.
Excellent. I'm so happy to have you here, Carrie. I've seen you play in a couple of games before, and I've heard nothing but great things from Jake, who I know you've had a long time camaraderie with. So I'm super happy to get the chance to get you into a game. So thank you. And now the Tailspin theme song is running on a loop in my head. So thank you. Oh yeah. Oh we. All right, Austin, you're up.
I was more of a DuckTales kid myself, so
you could do both. You could do both.
Woo woo. But I let's see. I can't be found on the internet, but I can be found sprinkling fairy dust over poppy fields in the south of France. But I will be playing Quinn Harwick, the sort of leader, maybe, of this group of ruffians. It depends how Silas is feeling that day. So I'm excited to get into this. I hope we're going to have a rotten good time.
Absolutely, dude. Always welcome on the channel. Happy to have you, Austin. All right. Next up, we have Jeff.
Yes, hello. I'm Jeff. Very excited to be getting into this game. It's been a hot minute since I've gotten to play in a Jeremy game, so I'm very excited to be back in one. I've done some research on this whole Firefly thing leading into this game. I had never seen it before actually joining this game, but I've seen a couple episodes now. Yeah, I'm going to be playing what's my character's name again? His actual full name, Arthur Vandross, who also is just mostly known by Van.
Awesome to have you back, Jeff. Yeah, I think the last time you played on the channel was with most of the people in this game. Whenever we played Whispers and Fragments, which was a tremendous campaign. Yeah, every time I hear you read your full character's name, all I can think of is Luther Vandross, and I keep expecting you to have like the super silky, sexy baritone voice. But I know that you're going to do a fantastic job with this character. Just knowing the little bit that you've already shared with us in the session 0 that we had a couple of weeks ago, and and it's just the kind of player you are. So excited to have you back, man. All right, last but certainly not least, we have Lloyd.
That's me. Just came straight from the airport directly to this game. I'm all hyped up on shitty airplane coffee. So I'm going to do another coffee right now. I'm extremely excited. I haven't played on this channel since that Momentum game, and I loved it. We have most of that crew back here with an exciting addition. So I think it's going to be very exciting.
Yeah, man. Thank you very much.
I'm playing Silas. Silas Harrow,
yes.
who is the owner of the ship and most important person on the crew.
Well, hopefully you won't fault me too much for getting you right back into the skies. But hopefully the travels were good, man. I'm happy to have you back on the channel as always. Okay, I think unless anybody has any kind of really pressing questions, I think we're ready to start. No? Cool. All right. Let's see. Holding the best hand doesn't always mean you win. And the only safe bet is that there's more to the game you're playing than merely the cards in your hand. Smart folk will make sure they understand the real stakes before they even sit down at the rutting table. And only those who have been fooled before know that holding a surefire thing is the first sign that you may just lose it all. We see a Kepler-class light bulk transport cruising silently through the black. At one time, this pleasure yacht had been a top-of-the-line vessel, sleek and without blemish. But now, whether through choice or necessity, she sported replacement parts, and more than a few dings and dents showing through the paint. As we pull closer to the ship, we see a name emblazoned proudly along her side. The Hecaton carries. And as we pass through the wall and into the interior of the ship, what I would like is for each of you, please, to introduce us to your characters while also showcasing and describing the area of the ship that is distinctly theirs. While you're doing that, if all of you could also please roll a d8 and post the results in our side chat. And then whatever order that you wish to take us out.
Sure, I think we can start at the cockpit. That seems like where it might make sense. You know, swing in through the kind of glass shield at the front, and everything in this cockpit is perfectly ordered. There is nothing out of place, and it looks like it's been polished maybe more recently than it needed to be. Like things have an oily sheen, and there's a conservatively dressed man in black slacks and just a simple blue shirt with what might be recognizable to some as an Alliance officer's jacket, but all the insignia has been pulled off. There are different patches that cover where some of them are, and they're immediately recognizable as, you know, not being of Alliance make, so it wouldn't usually be misrecognized in that way. But You can see he's looking at the at all the instruments, and like there's a tiny little smudge on one of the levers, and he just reaches into his jacket, and there's just a little cloth inside, and immediately starts fiddling with it. And he'll lean back in the chair, in the pilot's chair, and radio down. Everything going all right down there? We're hitting a few bumps up here, but should be smooth flowing.
Over the communication system, you would hear Lily kind of like almost scoff, and she'd be like, Quinn, if things weren't going fine, I would have let you know. I know we're hitting a couple bumps, but nothing I can't handle. I'll get back with you in a few minutes. And then you see Lily kind of tap something to turn the communications off, and just kind of rolls her eyes and be like, I told him I would get back with him if anything needed to be gotten of. I don't know why he doesn't trust me by now. It's been 3 years. And then she just kind of like starts going back about her business. Just kind of running some diagnostics on the systems all around her in the kind of, you get an idea that this is the engine room. There's steam, there's kind of catwalks that she's like walking through certain mechanical elements. And just sort of surrounded on all sides, above and to the sides and below, by machinery, trying to find something that is wrong, and not quite able to do it, but not willing to admit she can't.
In a much less greasy and loud part of the ship, which was once like the entertaining like parlor, it now serves as an office, and we see like a long fingered pale hand with like this extremely fancy ring on the little finger, and it like plays at some sort of like futuristic-y but definitely piano like instrument, and like we see the face of like quite a thin gaunt man, maybe has a tinge of desperation about looking correct on him, and he's like playing this like mournful tune on this instrument, and then he hears like and he like plays an off note and like has to sit back from it, and then like hears like, well, if there was something wrong, and like the voice clearly grates on him. He just goes over to like the little communication thing and like turns it off, and then like cracks his knuckles and gets back to trying to play.
I think off in his own room, we see Van, who's like sitting towards the edge of the bed, and he's got like all of his equipment laid out in this like meticulous, almost like grid, like a long sniper rifle, a handgun, a strange looking knife, along with like a various degree of just rations, supplies, and whatever he would need for wherever we went, probably too much so even. And he's like meticulously going through each of them, like cleaning them, making sure that everything is in like perfect working condition, that there can be no possible like equipment malfunction or anything of that degree. And he'll just be going like one by one, like carefully placing everything that he picks up back into like exactly the same spot that it was in before, and just this like laid out pattern in front of him.
I imagine you've sort of seen what everybody's doing. There's at least one shot of the view sort of high up in a corner of the room that people are in, whether it's the cockpit or the offices or the engine room, as Scoot is sliding through the duct system. Not so much like the ventilation system, but like service tunnels in the ship, moving quickly in and around, not necessarily to be sneaky, and he's not really spying on everybody. It's more like as he moves by and you just kind of get this view, as he just finds it quicker for him to get from place to place, bypassing hallways and things by moving through the service tunnels. 2, he's small enough at Scoot is just a hair over 5 feet tall, rail thin, wearing a much too large, almost like a parka, looks almost like a military parka of some sort, because it gets cold, especially in the service shafts up here in the black. And you see him, and then the third reason is it ensures that he doesn't run into Silas or Van, the two that he tends to avoid if he can, mostly so he doesn't accidentally annoy them. And you just see him sort of slip through one of the service panels into his own room, which I just imagine to be one of the smallest rooms on the ship. And he's got a hammock strung across one side of it. There's some posters that they're not necessarily for any kind of artists or anything like that. Some of them just look like they're advertising bills that he probably ripped off of a spaceport when they were in there and took them for himself. And there's boxes of random junk all over the place in his room. And he just slips down in, climbs up into his hammock, and pulls out a sleeve of cookies that probably belonged to Silas or Van, that he pilfered from the galley, and is just swinging back and forth in his hammock eating not his cookies.
Fantastic. Okay. So on the bridge, at some point, we see Quinn doing his rote thing, where he's comfortable. And at some point, he's going to be joined by Silas and Lily. These are the basis of your D8 rolls. So what I'd like to see is how and what the conversation is revolving around. For whatever reason, whatever order that you want to come into the scene, that's what I'd like to see happen. So yeah, just whenever you're ready, Austin. What is Quinn currently up to that's about to be interrupted?
He is going over the flight data readings from their most recent leg of their journey. He's been particularly persnickety and worried lately about their fuel economy, and he's worried that there might be some sort of leak that they're not catching. So he's just poring over this data, trying to find if there's anything in particular that would precipitate like a loss in fuel.
And I would think at that point Lily would come in and she's all like smudged with grease and she's like wiping her hands and she's like, well, I think I found it. Do you want the good news or the bad news first?
Let's start with the bad news so you can.
The bad news is it's going to be expensive. The good news is
that's always
that,
the bad news.
Yeah, that's pretty much always the bad news. The good news is that it's fixable, but we definitely are going to need to make a stop, and we are going to need to look for a new Jeffries mount for the outside of the ship.
We can't make a stop, Silas will say as he strides in. We got a schedule to keep to.
If we don't, Silas, I know you know everything there is to know about the inner workings of this ship, but we need to stop, because actually if we don't, the ride will just get rougher and rougher and rougher.
Incorrect.
And rougher.
You'll make it work.
Wait,
I will if I can get a new Jeffries mount.
Could we reroute it through the compression gear until we have time to stop at least?
When will we have time to stop? That would help me answer that question.
When we get to the rendezvous point.
The rendezvous point is a good distance away yet, right, Quinn?
Can we make it
That's
3
right.
days? 3 days. We can take a little bit of turbulence over 3 days.
Right. We can just ride it through the compression?
Yeah. You can just run it through the compression. And I'm kind of like making eyes at
Exactly.
Quinn. Like, we have
Silas
at
is also making
most-
eyes at Quinn. Like, isn't this great? Don't I know what I'm talking about?
If you had let me finish, what I was going to say is that the turbulence will get worse and worse and worse until we explode. We have at most probably 36 hours on this. And I apologize for letting it go as long as I did. I thought, as Silas has so much confidence in me, that I could make it work until we could stop. But it turns out it was closer to the end of its life than I thought it was.
Okay.
We really
Lily,
need to stop.
if you're telling me that the equipment's failing, I believe you. I know that the equipment
Thank you.
would fail before you would. So 36 hours. What have we got within 24? And he'll start going over to any chart, the charting software, see what he can pull up, if there's anything close enough that we might be able to make a pit stop.
And I think you're coming in from, the border planets, and you're kind of making your way back closer to the core, and there's nothing within a short distance that is going to have the kind of equipment that you're looking for. There are places you could certainly stop, but they're going to be backwater, farmstead moons and planets that won't likely even have a spaceport.
Is it cool if I just make up a place?
Sure,
Or is
absolutely.
it a real chart? Yeah. He'll say, we could always try Miser's Point. I know that we get bad deals there and that it's dangerous and that, well, I just thought it was worth a try. If somehow we can't make it all the way, which is, again, extremely disappointing.
Even the cheap things are expensive fixes there.
But it'll be cheaper than getting stuck out in here.
And a lot less dangerous than exploding in space. So.
Okay. All right, we stop. Maybe, how long of a fix is this, Lily? Like, how long is it going to take to get us back up and running once we have the part?
Once we have the part, I can get us back up here in probably 12 hours. But we need the part.
Okay.
Silas lets out this long string of Mandarin, and then we'll look up and say, we cannot have 12 hours.
It's going to be a lot longer than 12 if we're stuck out in the black, spinning on our axis.
If we're late, we won't get paid.
Oh my God. If I don't sleep or eat or do anything else, I can probably shake it out in 8.
All right. What if we get Scoot to help?
Then it would be 8.5.
10?
All right. What if we get Quinn to help or Van?
6.
All right. 6 is much more palatable.
All right.
Okay.
We're stopping. And he'll immediately start punching in new coordinates, and like there's just a couple thruster maneuvers as the ship sort of slows and spins and continues on its path. Just readjust.
Lily storms out of the cockpit, biting the insides of her cheeks and swearing.
Silas will say to Quinn, we want to make sure that nobody gets off the ship unless they absolutely have to. There's too many dangerous people here.
I mean, sure, although if there's any way that we could try to rustle up a little more money on this planet. I know 6 hours isn't much, but I have known you to acquire some things and less. Maybe if you and Van go out.
I'll see what we can do. And then he'll like sweep from the room like he's done all the work that is necessary, and given everyone the orders they need. And then we'll go back to his like study, and he'll like sit down and like take a deep breath, and he'll open a drawer to like take out one of the fine like biscotti that they purchased some time ago and see that they are gone. And then he'll like close that drawer and open another one and like begin searching for the biscuits, but they are nowhere to be found.
The moment that the bridge is emptied out and the course is corrected and confirmed, Quinn gets up and starts polishing just about anything that Lily touched, trying to like wipe like her grease stains off of things.
Excellent. And we cut back over to the office where Silas is kind of somewhat frantically looking for these cookies. And Silas, your scene is going to have Van and once again Lily in it. And just however you want to play that out, whenever you want to enter. Silas, as you're kind of rifling through places, possible hiding locations, maybe with increasing frustration.
Yeah, maybe he finds like something that Scoot left there, some little, I don't know, token or like a strip of like red from a t-shirt or something that he wears. Silas is extremely good at finding people that don't want to be found, and so he'll like find this like cloth fiber or something and think, that boy. And then he'll like place it back, close the drawer, and sit down at the desk and like close his eyes for a moment, thinking he will finally get a little bit of rest before what is sure to be a difficult time.
Awesome. Who all was in this scene, Jeremy? I forgot.
Van and Lily.
Oh, okay. So Lily would just be kind of perpetually back to work, back to the drawing board, kind of within the like housing of the engine room. There is also this like kind of tilted up, almost like an animator's desk that has like blueprints and stuff on it. And you can tell Lily has been like sketching things out and trying to work her way around this, needing this new part anyway. And going up and asking Quinn to stop was sort of a last resort. And she's just like back to the drawing board, kind of hoping that she can maybe find something she missed. And she's just swearing about Silas and just is prick. Don't know. I know about the ship. Don't know. Yeah. Oh, can't you go any faster? And just kind of like, just.
Quinn, could you come to my office, please? Over the comms.
Did you say that to Van?
Sorry, Lily, could you come to my office, please?
Shit. God damn it. I thought I was going to look at. And I just kind of like, I'm kind of busy down here. Silas, what do you need?
It's urgent. Thank you.
Oh my God. Oh my God. I feel like I'm getting called to the principal's office. I don't know. Why do I even care? And then I like walk out and I take my time getting to his office. And I'm like, Lily has like kind of wears just coveralls, and usually she has like the top part of it down and sort of tied around her waist and just has like a tank top on underneath. But as she's going up to Silas, she like puts it on and zips it up and like is just kind of, trying to be as professional as she can, all covered in grease, and goes in and she's like, Silas, good afternoon. What can I do for you?
He'll stand and he'll gesture for the chair on the other side of his desk. He has like, I guess it would be like maglocked or something. It's like huge, ridiculous wooden desk, which already is a luxury in itself. And he has like a really nice maglock chair, but he puts on the other side a rolling chair that's a little loose so that whoever is sitting feels a little uncomfortable.
Oh my God.
So he'll like gesture for you to sit.
I do. And I just kind of like, I'm not like sitting back in the chair. I'm just like sitting on it almost like it's a stool, like with my butt like on the very edge of it. I was like,
the part we need is called a Jeffries
mount.
Mount, I see. And what does it look like?
And Lily would kind of just without asking take a pen off of his desk and then like grab a piece of paper, stationery. Yeah, and I just immediately pretend I don't hear him and I start sketching it out. And I just kind of like hold it up and I'm like, it looks like this. And it's
Okay.
expensive. And I'm sorry we need it, but we definitely need it.
That's all right. It's not your fault. I'm going to have to go negotiate for it. So I need to know what it looks like and what to expect price-wise.
And Lily would tell him what it should cost.
Hmm.
And she said,
Yeah,
but
he'll
hold
mutter
on.
under his breath in a bunch of Mandarin again.
But if there is something wrong, and I like circle like one specific part, almost every one of these built after insert year here has a defect right here. It doesn't do anything to the effectiveness of the part. It works perfectly. But if you point out that defect, you could get them to knock 25, 30% off easy.
Excellent.
Easy.
Very good. All right. So Jeffrey's mount. You see him like going through it in his head. He like closes his eyes. It's probably really weird for Lilios to sit there. He's like going through it. He like closes his eyes and like mutters a bunch of stuff to himself and like has like saved it seemingly in his brain somewhere.
Are you done with me?
It's probably about this time that Van will walk in and just look. I heard urgent business on the intercom. Is this actually urgent or Silas urgent?
I kind of like laugh under my breath, and I'm almost relieved that it's not just me and Silas anymore. I'm like, I look up at Silas. I'm like, oh, believe me, it is urgent. And I kind of wink.
We need to go acquire a part, Van. I'll need you to come with me. We're going to stop at Miser's Point. And if there's a way that we can find something to do there that might get us a little bit of extra credit, that would be useful.
We're really going back there.
I know.
If you insist.
It seems to be our only option. The ship will explode or something.
Lily will stand up and kind of crack her back, and he'll
say,
smack
I
Van.
already tried to explain about the compressor, but apparently that won't work.
Nope, not even close. Van, don't be so glum. We get off the ship. Any day off of this ship is a good day, right?
Well, the ship exploding would be unfortunate, so I suppose a stop will be necessary.
Also, we are not getting off the ship, Lily. You will remain on the ship. You have to fix it.
Yeah. Yep. I forgot about that part. Thank God you're here to remind me. So
good.
How far away is Miser's Point, you said?
I think Quinn said a couple of hours.
Okay.
So in the meantime, if you need assistance in prepping the area, anything like that, I'm sure Van would be happy to help you.
Yeah, Van, why don't you come with me? We run on down to the engine room. We can grab Scoot because I'm sure he's just running around looking for trouble somewhere. And we'll see if he wants to help.
Yeah, Van will give like a sideways glance over to Silas at having been like volunteered for this help, which is probably like very menial, like cleaning and just like labor. And he'll just roll his eyes.
If you see Scoot, tell him I know about the biscuits.
Excellent. So, which is ironically actually perfect because Lily, your scene, which takes place in the engine room, has Van and Scoot as you.
Oh my God! I didn't know that. Whoa!
So, as you and Van head down to the engine room, what are you getting up to? And Scoot, how do you come into the scene?
I imagine Lily and Van are just kind of getting in, and Lily's just getting ready to start telling Van what needs to be done. And one of the maintenance hatches from the bulkhead swings open, and you just see these scuffed, rough-looking, probably like Converse All-Stars. You just see kind of kick through, and all 5 foot tall of Scoot swings on in, and
God.
knocks the door closed. Hey, Lily, you know that Jeffrey's mount's trembling like a $3 horn church, right?
Yeah, no shit, Scoot. Thank you. I've told you
What?
not to go back in those tunnels. If anything shifts at all, it'll squish you like a bug.
Nothing's shifting.
Well,
Besides,
I'm
if I
glad-
didn't go scooting around inside there, who's going to stick all the little wire mounts and everything else back where they go?
You are an invaluable part of the crew, Scoot. Van, come this way and I will show you what the Jeffries mount looks like and what to tell Silas that he should be haggling for. Scoot, if you want to come, these boys are about to have an adventure and I'm sure they need your help. And I kind of like smile at Van and then I take them both back and I'm kind of showing Van and Scoot essentially what I told Silas about like this part here is messed up on like all of them. And this is what the Jeffries mount is for. And this is why we need it. And this is why it's so hard to MacGyver it when you don't just have one of these mounts. And I just kind of like shrug and I'm like, and I guess you guys get to go on a fabulous journey in a few hours while I am here in the cave eating my ham sandwich and trying to make this ship not explode.
You got sandwiches?
I have one sandwich, Scoot.
I think you've stolen
Half
enough
a
food, Scoot.
sandwich.
God's sake. And I pull out from like one big pocket in my coveralls, like a paper bag. I unroll it. I have one sandwich in there and I rip it in half and I give half of it to Scoot.
You know you don't have to give him the stuff he asks for, right? You can say no.
I could. And I like, and I kind of like bump Scoot with my hip. And I say, but he's got a very important job of making sure all the wires get stuck back in where they need to go. Can't do that on an empty stomach.
I wonder how all those
and I wink
wires
at him.
keep getting misplaced in the first place.
You know,
Strange coincidence.
you know, I really, really, really don't want to go with Silas and Van. But I also know if you leave Silas in charge of trying to find this part, he is going to go to the wrong person and he is going to get screwed.
And listen, they're going to Miser's Point. You been to Miser's Point before?
I've been to the spaceport there.
You got to make sure that they don't get their pockets picked. Keep them in the nice area of town, Scoot.
I know who to look for. I'd be lucky if I'm with them. That's one less person will be picking their pockets. As I say that, I just kind of from inside where my hands are kind of tucked inside the sleeves, you just see a biscotti come out and just crunch, crunch, crunch.
I look at Van and I'm like, see, you're in good hands. He knows his way around.
You're going to come with this. Silas will need to approve that. And also, while we're there, you can apologize for stealing his cookies. He is very upset.
I have no idea what you're talking about. Crunch, crunch, crunch.
I'm sure you don't.
I just kind of smile. One of those smiles when you've eaten an Oreo and you just got it all in your teeth
yeah.
over at Lily.
And I just sort of like shake my head and like avert my eyes. And I'm like, well, I do have a couple of things to get ready for. Do you guys have any questions before your grand adventure?
Need me to bring you back anything? Besides the
Ooh.
Jeffrey's mount?
Give me about an hour to think on that one, Scoot. I might have a thing or two. And I kind of like look at Van like it's something I don't want to say in front of Van.
All right.
Like, well, if we're done here, and Lily just kind of like, she almost like swings to a different like catwalk that you would have to like do a hop, skip, and a jump to get to. And it's like, good luck on your journey, boys. Scoot will catch up in a little bit. And yeah, Lily doesn't have anything else to say, especially to Van.
Yeah, and I imagine like this engine room is probably pretty sizable because this was a a pleasure yacht at some point that served
Huge.
like an extended family kind of thing. So I imagine one person taking care of this room is a feat in and of itself.
This was definitely meant to be manned by like 4 or 5 people, and
right.
Yeah.
Yep. Absolutely.
I'm imagining that there's probably like extra like jerry rigged like catwalks in between sections that you'd normally have to like have multiple people dealing with, so you can just like quickly hop over them and like a swing system. Yeah.
There's like one pipe that you can like, if you get a good little run up, you can just like jump and then like skip over to the next one. And like
there's like one pipe with like a ring attached that you just like you just grab onto and slide over and toss it back.
There is one zip line in this room. It's canon.
Yep.
It is known.
That one pipe doesn't really do anything anyways, so it doesn't matter that it's no longer connected.
No.
You got a broom handle so you can push the two things at the same time that you can't quite reach.
Exactly. 100%. 100%.
Yeah, that room piped steam to the sauna, but we don't use that anymore.
Right.
It's just storage now.
Storage. I was gonna say there's boxes in there. Amazing.
Okay, so as we're continuing to kind of head towards Miser's Point, at some point we find Van in his quarters. Maybe he's getting ready for going planetside. And the other person in this scene, interestingly enough, is Scoot.
Van, I imagine you go into your room and close the door behind you. And as you do so, you see Scoot standing over in the room, having slipped past you, but also instantly looking nervous when you close the door.
What are you doing here?
I got to go with you and Silas on this thing, and we're going to Miser's Point. Miser's Point is not a friendly place, even if you know what you're doing there and who to look out for. So I was just thinking now is probably the best time for you to give me a gun when we go on port.
I'm not going to do that.
Now, hear me out. You got guns, multiple guns. Silas is going to be armed, and probably like 7 out of 10 people that you're going to encounter in the spaceport is going to be armed, but I'm not going to be armed. That's kind of dangerous, don't you think? For me and all of us. Be a lot better off if you gave me something that could actually sling bullets instead of just a blade.
I don't trust you to use it properly. You'll shoot one of us or yourself. I'll just say that, that bluntly.
What in our history has given you any indication that I would shoot myself or one of you? And as I say that, and I kind of throw my arms wide, I imagine knocking something off of one of your stands.
He'll like let out a sigh under his breath at whatever you clattered off the desk onto the floor. What would it be that you knocked off, do you think?
I think it's a weapons cleaning kit, and it's something that has a lot of small parts, and they just scattered.
If you can hardly even manage the cleaning kit, how do you expect me to give you the gun?
I would know I had a gun in my hand. I didn't know you had that sitting there on the edge. That's very dangerous to have that sitting like that.
You have eyes. You could see it. You should have known it was there.
Okay. I see your point. What about like you got something like a training pistol or something?
No. Maybe Silas does. You should ask him.
Yeah, I'll be sure to do that. That's going to be at the very top of the list of things that I do when I see Silas.
You'd have a better luck getting a weapon from him than you would from me.
Did you say that you had your guns were all laid out, or did you put them all away?
I imagine they're still laid out.
I imagine you see that look in my eyes that I get whenever I'm tempted to sticky finger something. And you just see
Don't.
my eyes looking past you, and you can see these calculations going as I'm considering. You can just tell that I'm considering trying to swipe one of your pistols.
There's nowhere for you to run on this ship. I will find you.
Well, one, you're wrong about that. And two, I'm not going to take nothing from you. Listen, that's one thing that is most important, is you do not steal from those closest to you. I know we ain't exactly like this. We're like this at best, but you're still we're part of the same crew. I ain't going to swipe nothing from you. Nothing of value anyway. Nothing important.
Van will look down at like the half empty bag of cookies that's probably still in one of your
sticking out of the
pockets.
pocket. I didn't take those from you.
I guess that's true.
So just to be clear, 100% clear, Crystal, that's a no on the shooting iron. See, you're pausing. That means you're considering it.
I'm not going to give you one. I need to see that you're responsible first.
All right, fair enough. Fair enough.
Like he'll say that with like the look on his face, like he told you that like you'll need to like swim through space on your own. Like he knows that will never ever happen, so he won't have to give you a gun.
I'm wearing you down.
You certainly are.
Perfection. All right. The last scene that I want to touch on before we reach Miser's Point is Scoot's scene. Scoot, this is either in the service tunnels or your space where you have your hammock and such set up, I think. And the person in your scene is Quinn.
Yeah, I think Quinn is coming to your I don't think he can fit in the service tunnels. So I think he's gonna come to your quarters. Listen, Scoot, Lily told me that she thought it would be a good idea if you headed out instead with the crew, and if you're going to Miser's Point, I think it would only make sense if you didn't go completely empty-handed. So I wanted you to have this. And he's gonna pull out a very simple revolver and hand it to you. He's gonna say, now listen, there's no ammunition in there, and I'm not planning on giving you any. But I think you're smart enough that you can talk yourself out of anything if you have the appearance that you can back it up. I don't want you pulling this thing out unless it's absolutely necessary. I don't want you to pull this out unless you see Van and Silas pull their weapons, okay? I don't want them to know you have this. If you come back here and they tell me that they find out that you have this, you will not have this anymore. Unless, of course, they have to pull their weapons, in which case I think it's all right. I'll allow it. But you have to be careful with this.
As you say that, I'm holding this thing in my hand, and if you've ever seen anybody that is holding a gun for the first time and they feel the weight of it in their hand, and it just there's a just this inherent fear / respect if you've ever held a firearm for the first time, looking at it, where it's just like, oh, this is heavier than I thought, and just kind of looking at it, and then kind of turn it over, and you see as you're talking, I start to look like I want to try spinning it or something, and I don't. But I also, as you say, you have to be very careful with it. I kind of fumble it just a second and kind of, oh, Roger that, Captain.
Both hands.
Both hands, yeah. And don't let Silas or Quinn or Van know. And don't pull it out in case they pull theirs out. And okay, I will not let you down. Do you think it's going to be bad there?
I hope not, but Miser's Point's a mean city. It's got mean people in it. A lot of people still smarting pretty bad from the war. A lot of people still willing to take advantage of anyone that wanders through. Looks like they maybe aren't packing something.
I ain't never been out of the spaceport.
You'll do fine. Van will look after you. Silas too. Just
Does
try
Silas
not
know
to.
that?
I think he knows that you fly with us and he's under your protection. You're under his protection.
Well, Miser's Point, he might be a little under my protection and not realize it.
Fair enough.
As
Listen,
I say that, I just sort of I've tucked the revolver kind of far back on the side on my hip, so it's out of sight under this jacket. And as I say that, I just kind of pull it back in imitation of a gunslinger and just kind of pat it. I know, keep it hidden. Zzz.
you're smarter than Yak, Scoot. Maybe
Don't-
try
don't tell the
pretending
others.
like you know it. And with that, it'll walk out.
And I just kind of, as soon as you walk out and the door closes, I immediately unzip my coat and start.
Perfect. Excellent. Okay, so all of you have started the session with a single plot point. All of you have now earned a second plot point. These are incredible scenes, and I already feel like I understand the net that binds these characters together. I'm super excited. Fantastic. Okay, so you are just a few hours. You travel to the planet of New Melbourne. New Melbourne is the second planet. You can see it kind of just to the right of the red sun there. This is the second planet that orbits this red sun, which is known as Zhu-Q. A large percentage of this world is covered in ocean and marshlands. So a large percentage of it is based around fishery, and the chief export comes from the extensive fisheries and things that are located on this world. But it also happens to be the location of Miser's Point, and chiefly amongst Miser's Point dominates. It is dominant the Golden Wolf Casino, which is run by the R&R Trading Company. So Miser's Point is this large, almost oil rig sized building that has a small spaceport on the back. About a half dozen ships or so can dock here at a time, and this is definitely set up as a place for people coming on world to take shore leave, if you will. It's definitely kind of a dock area that's built up around transient people from the planet. So as you kind of land on the back of one of these platforms after having gotten clearance and you're getting ready to make your departure into Miser's Point, I think, Lily, there was something that you wanted to talk to Scoot about.
Yeah, I would snag Scoot kind of before they're ready to disembark, and I'm like, hey, what happened to coming back and talking to me before you got off the ship? You all of a sudden excited to get off and go on an adventure with Van and Silas?
You're fire. Yeah. Something occupied my attention, and I forgot. I'm sorry. What did you need?
I kind of like narrow my eyes at Scoot, and I kind of like know he's acting differently than he like ever has. He's never like, he's always the one that's aware when we are hiding something from him. It's very seldom the other way around. And I just kind of look at him. I'm like, so, and I kind of like pull like the crumpled scrap out of my pocket, and I'm like, it's a long shot, and if you can't find it, I don't mind. But if any place has it, it might be Miser's Point. And I would hold this scrap out to him, and on it is Lily's best drawing of a baseball. And I just say it's silly and it's sentimental, but there was a sport back in the way before, and they would play it in big fields of green grass, greenest grass you've seen in your life. I've seen pictures, and this, if you could get me one of these, it's about this big, and it would be, I don't know, it'd just be cool to have. And I was thinking maybe you could find me one here. If they're going to be anywhere, it would be here.
Okay. It's not necessary for the ship. It's not a part for the engine.
No, it's not a part. It's kind of a cool little, just a thing to have from the old times. And it was a sport. Have you ever heard of baseball, Scoot?
I know what a ball is.
Well, yeah. Well, yeah, you don't need to know anymore, but they used to play it with this, and it'd just be kind of a cool thing to have to fidget with while I'm working on the engine,
No, I get it, Lily. Yeah, it's do you want one that's whole and brand new looking, or do you want one that's been repaired? This looks like it's got some kind of stitching on it.
Oh, yeah. So it had stitch. Yeah, it was. So I want one that looks like this, Scoot. Yeah.
Okay, so an old patched up one with stitches.
This is what they looked like when they were new.
Gotcha.
That's how they would make them. They got something on the inside. I don't know what's on the inside, but on the outside they got leather patches, and they would stitch it all together.
Leather. All right. A leather ball with stitching on it.
Yeah.
And I kind of take your crumpled up piece of paper and very meticulously kind of flatten it out and fold it neatly, and just tuck it down into a pocket. Baseball, leather, stitches.
That's it.
I got it. If it's here to be found, I'll find it.
I can't believe I'm saying this, but I completely trust you, Scoot. And I just kind of like wink, and I'm like, good luck. Make sure nothing bad happens to the boys now.
I will keep them under my watchful eye.
I just laugh, and I kind of make my way back into the ship, eating the other half of my ham sandwich.
My dogs are losing their minds. Hold on a second.
Wouldn't be a Jeremy game without dogs going wild.
No, absolutely not. My one dog, if he sees another animal across the street out the window, he just loses it. He acts like somebody's killing him, and I don't understand what the problem is. But he's a special kind of dog. Okay. So, all right. So you're headed out from the ship, Van, Silas, and Scoot. So as you're kind of headed into this port outpost type place of Miser's Point on here on New Melbourne, where are you headed first? What's the conversation like as you're stepping off the ship?
I think Silas would look to Van and say, "See if you can find us something to do. Wet or dry, doesn't really matter. If we can make quick buck while we're here." He'll say that quietly. He doesn't want Scoot in on any sort of violence that they might do. I think that's something that Silas tries to keep to just him and Van, and tries to keep the rest of the crew out of the seedier underbelly type stuff. And then he'll say to Scoot, "You know best about this, what part we need, everything like that. So I'm going to go with you, and you're going to help me find it."
I think that might be the first time I've ever heard you utter those words.
"Where'd you get a gun?" He'll say, spotting it immediately with no, just immediately sees it.
I was going to ask you the same thing.
Don't
worry.
worry.
It's not one of mine, so.
It's not one of mine.
I told you that I wasn't going to take none of your guns.
What, so you took one of Quinn's?
This was given to me and it's unloaded. I do that thing where you go, "This was given to me and it's unloaded." It's so I can feel like one of you, I guess. I don't know.
How many of my biscuits do you have left?
I don't.
Are they all gone? Because that's how many bullets you get.
I reach into my pocket and okay. I pull out the sleeve and there's exactly 3 of your there was probably 20 in that sleeve.
Right.
And I just I don't even try to hide it. I just hand you what's left of the crinkly, it's kind of twisted, so they're left over. And I just hand it to you and kind of sheepishly smile up at you. I wasn't going to eat all of them.
You weren't going to eat all of them.
I was going to get you some more.
Give me those. And grabs them.
And then I just hold my hand out.
"I will load it for you." And he'll hold his hand out.
And we'll just give this look to Silas "You're seriously going to give this kid bullets?" But he won't intervene or try to stop you.
Should we be doing this? Are we on the just as we're getting ready to leave the ship?
Yeah, that's up to you.
Or have we already left the ship and we're just out in the...
I figure we're just at the top of the ramp or something.
Okay.
Was my sort of...
I turn my back to the entrance and kind of move where I didn't even think about the fact that by putting it on my hip, it was creating this obvious bulge to whoever was looking. That I pull out this revolver and I kind of hesitantly look at you and then hand it to you.
Yeah, he takes it and he eats 2 biscuits. And then he and with the unbelievable quickness and skill, where is this coming from? Just and then we'll hand it back with 1 bullet. That is for emergencies only. And you don't hide it on your hip, you hide it in the back. And he'll I guess a dad, reach and took it in the correct place. You do not take it out unless you see both me and Van take ours out. And then, and only then, would you even dream of pointing it at someone. And you only point it at someone if you're willing to shoot them.
You see my eyes get kind of big, and any hint of a smile kind of falters.
If you're not willing to shoot one, that's fine. I don't want you to.
All right, whatever you say.
All right. He'll eat the last biscuit. And then say, all right, lead the way.
Honestly, didn't think you were going to give it back. That was both Scoot and Jake saying that. All right, I will. As soon as I 180, I do an about face from Silas and Van. My whole posture changes, and I do that thing that younger folk who are a little more agile do, where I sort of skip. My first couple steps are almost like skips down the ramp, and I use the height of the ramp, kind of looking out over this port area, just getting an eye for. It's probably been a while since I've been back to Miser's Point, but all spaceports are essentially the same. There's certain types of folk you look for, and I'm looking for somebody. I'm just going to start scanning for where I know I would have to go to get parts, but also where I know I'm either less likely to get cheated, but also possibly looking towards swindling somebody out of the part. A little quid pro quo, if you will, on the nefarious side.
Okay. So there is this this one mechanic parts dealer here on Miser's Point named Nathaniel Douglas, and you've had some dealings with him before, and I'll leave exactly what the nature is up to you. But you definitely know that if Nathaniel Douglas is still operating here, that's a good point. It's a good place.
Looking around, kind of getting a sense for, just to see if arrangement of things around the spaceport has changed, and getting my bearings. I look back at Van and Silas. All right, I know who we got to see if he's here, and I'll start heading through, kind of navigating through. Probably doing that, moving up ahead of Van and Silas, but stopping every so often just to make sure they're still following.
And real quick, Lloyd, did you want Van to like split off to go look for work? Was that the intention?
I think so, yeah. I figure Van might know a way to find, like literally somebody needs like a debt collected or something that we can do in the short amount of time we have.
Yeah, I'm sure Van has pretty good, if not direct contacts that he knows that would be able to put him in touch with someone, at least a good sense for where to go looking for that sort of thing. So Van would look to the two of you. Good luck, he'll say. Looking like especially towards Scoot, I imagine, as he says that, before he'll disappear into the bustle of the spaceport to go hopefully find a job for us to do.
All right. So as Van kind of splinters off, Silas and Scoot head towards this place where Nathaniel Douglas, at least at one point, operated. Scoot, as you approach, you can see that the place is very much like it was the last time that you were here in Miser's Point, and you can hear Nathaniel's voice from the inside of the shop. So without a doubt, you know that he's still here. So I'm going to ask you, how is the relationship between you and this man? What is that?
I imagine that he probably in a similar fashion, though less refined, as Scoot and Quinn's relationship, while in Miser's Point for a period of time, Nathaniel probably caught Scoot trying to steal something from him, And rather than turning them in or beating them down or anything, put them to work. And Nathaniel's probably one of the first people that showed him some degree of kindness. There was definitely lessons there. I mean, this is Miser's Point after all. But he's probably one of the first people to teach Scoot some of those foundational values of you don't steal from those closest to you, and there's rules and it, sort of a honor among thieves kind of thing.
Perfect. Okay, so what is the approach? Are you going to head straight into the shop?
You said I could hear his voice.
Oh yeah.
As soon as I walk in, as soon as I hear his voice, I just turn back to Silas and I just go, "This is the place." And I walk in and I don't even wait to see him. I just call out, "Nate Dog!"
There's this kind of, abrupt break in the conversation that he's having where he kind of turns around and looks at you, and you see, though he has certainly grayed a bit more, that he looks very much the same as the last time that you were here. He's probably even wearing some of the same clothes as the last time that you saw him. He kind of turns and looks in your direction with surprise is not quite the right word. He definitely looks a little shocked to see you, but at the same time, almost like he expected that you might turn up again at some point. He quickly kind of finishes the conversation that he's having with the customer that he's currently with, and then he turns around, kind of wipes his hands on a dirty rag before kind of tossing it onto a nearby workbench, approaching you. Scoot, it's been a while.
Yeah, I managed to find one of them rust buckets to call home and got off world.
Well, he kind of stops when he realizes that you're with someone, and he looks Silas up and down. And Silas, it's pretty easy to tell that he's sized you up as a mark, without a doubt. But it's also pretty obvious to you that he has that kind of disdain that a lot of small moon places tend to generate to people that walk your particular path.
He's used to it being a core worlder. I think everywhere that he goes, people assume he's rich and assume that he's an asshole, and he is on both counts.
Right. So Nathaniel kind of sizes Silas up and nods, and he turns to Scoot and says, "This the captain of that ship you're talking about?"
He likes to think so.
I let my young friend here get away with a lot of things because of his unique charm. My name's Harrow. Miss Douglas, a pleasure.
Mr. Harrow, it's nice to have your acquaintance, I suppose. How might I ask? You know what? It's it's none of my business. So, Scoot decided to bring you my way.
He told me you could be trusted and that you were a man of good reputation. Is that
Did
so?
He kind of eyes Scoot with a little bit of a kind of knowing glance. I suppose, certain circles.
You told me that this is a moon full of miserly and greedy and backstabbing yokels, and that you were one of the few who was not that way inclined, and that you could be trusted to do genuine business.
Such colorful descriptions.
I
used to live here, right?
Your words, not mine.
I do tend to think of myself as an honest businessman, but there are opportunities that do arise from time to time, and if you don't take them, well, sometimes you don't live, Mr. Harrow. But I suspect that you know a thing or two about that.
I have my fair share of experiences in that front. That's correct. Our ship is needing some parts. Mr. Macduff can fill you in the particulars.
I see. Well, you certainly have parts for a variety of different vessels. What kind of a ship do you have? It's called a Kepler class.
Yeah, I thought I was to say it's a Kepler class retrofitted pleasure yacht.
I
Pleasure.
kind of
Yeah.
I step up on the sort of foot railing along one of the counters, so that I'm just about 6 inches taller, and I kind of point through the door out across the port. It's that one right there.
He kind of leans down, trying to find a somewhat clean spot on the window to kind of look through. Well, I haven't seen a Kepler class this way in a long time. You said it's
a thing of rare beauty.
Well, they certainly are easy to look at, usually. Not necessarily easy to work, but Scoot, what do you do? What do you do on a boat like that?
Well, it got me off the spaceports. I get to sail around on the black with a crew of decent folk, and gets me out of the crowds here.
Are you like a butler or like a
Butler?
manservant
I'm not
of
a
some
butler.
kind?
I'm not a servant boy.
Well, it's a
I
yacht.
help out wherever they need me to. If they need me to go get some things here and there, there's stuff that's a little difficult to get. I'm an essential part of this crew. Is why I'm on the shore crew talking to you right now.
I don't doubt it at all, Scoot. And there's no reason to get your knickers all in a twist. Look,
Mr. Douglas, I think you may have misunderstood by my bearing and my manner of speech. This ship, the Hecaton, affectionately called Heck, is no longer a pleasure barge. It is a work ship. We do jobs, whatever jobs are necessary to keep the ship in the black. That is what we do. And we do not shy away from work that others might consider to be unpleasant or dirty. I have done more than my fair share of work in that regard. And so, while you may look at me and think this is a rich idiot whom I can scheme and scam out of a great deal of money for some part that he doesn't fully understand, I can assure you that that is not the case. We have come to you because you are supposed to be trustable. And Mr. Macduff has assured me that you are.
well, you're right, and I don't mean any offense by it, but just as some of us may have presumptions about the other, I suppose it doesn't make it fair.
I understand completely. I just wanted to set the record straight.
I think we understand one another fine. Scoot, if you trust this man, then I'm willing to do business with him.
As you say that, I'm over about 6 feet away, rearranging things on the shelves, just kind of moving back around. And Nate would probably notice that I'm putting things back where I used to put them when I was here, and just kind of moving a few things around and maybe picking something up and like shaking it. Yeah. So anyway, we're kind of needing to pick up a Jeffrey's mount.
Jeffrey's mount for a Kepler. I might have one, but it's no telling. You got a picture of the dimensions, the size of it? It'll help me tell what model you need.
And start going, it's about yay big, about yay long.
Silas will say the dimensions are, and he will rattle off perfectly, like is it because he has it memorized, like the exact dimensions of the thing.
Yeah, he looks kind of surprised and impressed, but tries not to show it and nods. Kind of writes it down on, like a small data pad. It's, definitely probably 30 years outdated. Kind of nods. All right. Yeah, let me have a look real quick. He kind of moves to step into the back of the shop, and he says, "Scoot, you're with me," because he clearly does not trust leaving Scoot unsupervised in his store.
No, not even a second thought to immediately follow. I think as he says, "You're with me," I've already started to step through to follow him into the back room.
Silas is going to grab him and tell him about the part that often breaks down, but he's already gone. And so he's like, oh. So he'll just stand. He has that trait that like a lot of very wealthy people who went to like finishing school have, where he just like stands perfectly straight with perfect posture, and it looks really bizarre, I guess, among all these people who are like moving around and all that, and he's just like unmoving, like arms behind his back, probably folded, and he'll just wait.
Excellent. And while Scoot and Nathaniel kind of head back through this kind of beaded curtain that kind of separates, the back, part of the shop from this front, we cut over to the ship, back on board the Heck. And what's going on there? What are Lily and or Quinn up to?
I'm gonna let Quinn go first.
Well, I imagine Quinn would, as soon as they were basically parked and everyone was sent off, he would head down to the engine room to see if there was any way to assist Lily in preparing the space for the, the new part. Like if we needed to move any of the, like start disassembling some section of the engine to remove the old one and install the new one.
As soon as he comes in the door, halfway through the sentence, "Hey, Lily, do you need a hand?" You would come upon Lily has both hands on this thing, which is about like the size of like a cereal box, and one foot up on the console that it's mounted on. And she's like putting all of her weight back into pulling this thing off. And as soon as she turns her head to look at Quinn, it comes loose and she just goes like flying back into like off screen. And you just hear from like off into like another like alcove, like shit. And then like she kind of immediately like whoop, like comes back into like the area where he can see. I'm like, no, I got it. Thanks for the thought though, Quinn. I appreciate it. Just waiting on the boys now. If they make it back.
Okay, I will leave you to it. Then do feel free to message if you need anything. He just looks at her kind of uncomfortably, like it feels like he's like intruded on an intimate moment somehow. Like he feels like he's walked in on her, like just like I don't know, tearing this engine apart. He's like, I shouldn't be here.
And I just kind of, I'm like, wait. And I kind of like hold it out to him. And like, how long has, what I know, like Quinn is the captain of this ship. How long has Quinn been captaining? Has he been a captain of many ships? Has he, like,
he's definitely like, he had command. This is at least the second ship he's had command of. He had his own like ship in the Alliance.
And how long has he been captain of this ship?
I think we landed on something around like 5 years.
Something like 5 years. All right.
Yeah.
So the lifespan of these Jeffries mount is about 5 years. And Lily would hand it to him and be like, I think this is for your 5-year anniversary there, boss. You can put it up on the in the cockpit and it's like a celebration. You ground for your first Jeffries mount. It's a big deal.
He'll take it with a smile and he'll look at it and go, huh, this must have been one of the older models. Look, it doesn't have the defect.
I know. I was trying to tell Silas and it just like went in one ear and out the other. Like, I think he heard me, but he didn't really listen.
This is a nice ship. They paid top dollar for everything in this.
Yeah, I can tell. It's and when like all of these ships, once one thing goes, everything goes. So you're going to be getting your money's worth out of me over the next year or two.
Yeah, it'd be a good time to start stocking up on replacements for anything essential and finding bypasses for anything where we can.
And I just kind of like nod over at my like table where there is like, you would see, and you don't ever make it down here very often, but you see like Lily has like lists, 3-year plan, 5-year plan, 10-year plan, and like all of the parts and stuff that are gonna go kaput in those lengths of time. And I'll be like, I got the laundry list. Just let me know if you ever want to see it.
And like adverts for like upcoming releases of parts
Sales,
that could,
yes.
that
Oh,
could be
100%.
like improvements.
It's like Popular Mechanics. There's several issues sitting there. Like, yeah, you like
Whatever
over
your
like
version
Lily
of
would have
Auto Trader.
100%. Lily would have like her hammock like in here, just in the engine room, and like over by like her hammock, like on like a side table, you would see like a stack of like 5 most recent like Popular Mechanics and stuff like that. So, and like a couple little knickknacks that are like personal items for her and whatnot. But, and I just kind of nod and like, well, you should have the whole crew autograph that. It's a big deal.
Yeah, I appreciate it. I'll start with you. He'll set it down. Maybe I'll clean it up first before I have you all sign it, though. I'll take care of that.
Yeah. I just kind of, Lily would like pull her sleeve up over her arm and like clean a section of it, and then pull a pen, like a marker, out of her like pocket and sign it right there and be like, you don't have to clean it up on my account.
I assure you I wasn't going to. and he'll turn and take it out. And realizing he has perhaps nothing better to do, and he's on a casino planet, or a casino outpost, he'll head that way.
I see the spring in his step and I say, never hit on anything over 14, Quinn.
I never hit on anything under 27. I'm far
Jesus
too
Christ.
old for.
And then I just am like shaking that out of my head, and then I start working on the ship, doing whatever.
Excellent. Okay. Let's see. I think we're gonna cut over to Van, kind of making his way through the streets of Miser's Point. Van, what kind of a place are you looking for? What might you find?
I think Van is looking for some sort of hub of activity, probably like a bar or something of that sort, where he knows that there will be like traders and such hanging out, as well as perhaps some people doing some other deals of more nefarious sorts in the back rooms and such. He's been to many such places, I imagine, across his life, and would have a decent eye for them. So he's looking for something just seedy enough to have the sort of work that we do.
Perfect. Okay, and I think, hold your breath, everybody. I think we're going to get our first roll of the game. So I'm looking for some kind of streetwise knowledge of Miser's Point type roll. So let's walk through and see if we can't assemble a die roll for you.
Let's do it.
Okay. Let's see. Where in the verse are you from? Let's go through your distinctions. Do you have a distinction that you think might apply to that? One of the 3 that you have listed.
So the first one I have is I've murdered countless as a hitman for a well-connected crime syndicate, which I imagine probably would give me some pretty good insight into this sort of thing.
Yeah, I think so. Being aware of, what kinds of movers and shakers are on what worlds, and, their typical maneuverings and things, I think that definitely qualifies. So that'll give you your D8, because it's definitely a boon in this situation and not a hindrance. Okay, what about emotion? What emotion's currently driving, or what emotion is Van kind of currently tapping into?
I think fear is probably the easiest one. I imagine he's a fairly intimidating sort of person.
Sure.
And just has the eyes of someone who's been through and done some serious shit, which I imagine translates to the people who know what that looks like.
Certainly. Okay. Okay, so you're going to leverage fear. What do you have in your fear emotion?
That is an 8 for me.
D8. Okay, so you'll have 2 D8 so far. Let's see. What about roll? You have a role that you think would fit this situation? You're kind of leaning into?
I'm going back and forth between like heavy and thinker. I
Okay.
don't know exactly like which one
Yeah.
makes the most sense here.
For this, probably thinker. I think that would probably be a better fit. So what do you have in
Yeah,
thinker?
just kind of racking his brain to
Mm-hmm.
get a sense of what he's looking at and how to best navigate it.
Sure.
All right, and
What-
that is
what-
also an 8.
An 8. Okay, cool. So you've got 3 D8 so far. I don't think necessarily a relationship, unless you wanted to try to spend a plot point to possibly establish such a thing. Would a value? Do you think any of your personal values might apply to this role?
I don't know.
Okay. Yeah, if it doesn't
Maybe-
seem like an easy fit, then it's not one that is included in every role. Values is a secondary trait set. So we can
I'm
certainly
sure I could
forego it.
find some justification for using power, but like it feels a bit like stretching for the mechanical advantage as opposed to like a natural.
Certainly. Okay. And then is there a signature asset that might apply?
It depends on that'll depend on what sort of work is available here.
Okay.
One of my signature assets is it's a dagger, colloquially called a killing key, which is basically like a covert members card as far as like hitmen and assassinations go.
Okay,
Like
sure.
most people would just see a plain like functional working knife. Would never really associate it. There's not like any obvious symbol or something emblazed on. There's like just very subtle ways that it's like shaped in certain spots and detailed in certain spots that like people who have one know what it is, but people who don't probably have no idea. So if there's
Okay.
someone who has that sort of work here, then that would come into play. But if it's not that sort of job, then it wouldn't. So I'll let you decide.
Okay. I think I have a perfect thing in mind where that could possibly apply. So we'll go ahead and add it to your dice pool. So you have, what do you have in your killing key?
That is also a D8.
D8. Okay, so you
It's
have
all
4
eights.
D8. Okay, so the way that this is going to go down is you roll all of those D8s, and then you're going to choose 2 of them to total together, and a third one, they're all the same size, so it won't really matter, but a third one is going to be your effect die, in which will basically just have a value of a D8.
Okay, perfect. I only have 3d8, so I'm just going to re-roll the lowest one. All right, so that is going to be an 8 and a 6 for a combined total of 14.
Okay, and then on the third die, did it come up as a 1?
No.
No? Okay, cool. So you haven't rolled any hitches. If you roll a 1 on any of the dice in a dice pool, it counts as a hitch.
No, the other
so-
rolls were 3 and a 4, so
Okay,
good.
perfect. All right, so you have a D8 effect die, and you got, what was the total again?
14.
14. Okay, let me switch something real quick. I need to check to see. The heap of trouble that I have as a GM is currently at a 3d6. All right, so. Okay, so I only got an 8 total, which means that you are aware of what you're walking into here. So you find yourself a bar, and it's, you know, one of the better bars. You know, somebody who can actually afford to pay for the kinds of jobs that you might be willing to do. And you notice an individual that you may or may not have a relationship with in the past, but you recognize this person the moment that you see him. Though the bar is not really a dive by any stretch of the imagination, he is very obviously the best dressed person in this place. He has the look of a successful businessman about him. And you recognize that his name is Roman Sylvia. He is one of the R's in R&R Trading Company, the people that run this outpost. The moment you walk in through the door of the bar, his eyes kind of drift up and watch you across the room.
Yeah, if it's okay with you, I think I will spend a plot point to mark a relationship, if that's how it works.
Okay, that's absolutely, yeah. So that establishes a relationship with him at a D6. It will only last until the end of the session, unless you spend growth points between sessions to gain another, to make it permanent, rather.
Perfect. So I'll spend the point and make a relationship, and I'll say, do I like decide the nature of that now, or
yes,
or how does
if
that
you'd
work?
like? Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I imagine Roman is one of the people who sort of caught him in the midpoints, where he didn't hire me from the organization I used to work for. He hired me for something else, probably still pretty seedy and perhaps even bloody, depending on his disposition. So Van's done work for this person like a while back, probably just once.
Okay, and it's clear that he recognizes you. He kind of sits up a little straighter in his chair, puts his glass, he's kind of drinking from a tumbler, and sets it down on the table and kind of leans back and steeples his fingers very much the way in his portrait.
Van will walk over in that direction, and I think he would have a decent sense for like the sort of power dynamic here. Would it be like more customary for him to like just go sit and wait for Roman to come talk to him if he's going to, or would it be more appropriate to just like directly approach?
So you think you're pretty safe to directly approach. It doesn't look like he's currently engaged in any, business or conversation with anyone else. He's seated at the table by himself. But by no means is he alone in this room. You spotted at least 4 bodyguards, kind of scattered throughout this bar. The moment you walked in the door, again, I imagine that's the kind of thing that that doesn't slip past Van's attention often.
Certainly. Yeah, Van will approach not too close, knowing the eyes of the people who will be there to intervene if they sense anything off. And since Van is armed, I don't think he has his rifle with him, but he would still have the gun and the knife. So he'll walk close enough to like speak without having to like shout or yell. Mr. Sylvia.
Mr. Vandross, should I ask whether or not to be happy to see you, or?
I'm not here on any arranged business for you. He'll say.
Yeah, you can see the relief in his face. Well, I suppose that's a good thing. You
Yes.
came to Miser's Point and needed to see me, or is this just a social visit?
It's more happenstance that I find myself here, but perhaps fortunate happenstance for either of us if the circumstances are right for it.
He kind of nods. One of the bodyguards kind of has started to approach, and he'll just kind of give him a small gesture to kind of back him off, and then gesture for the seat across from him in the booth.
Yeah, Van will sit across from him. He'll like make sure to have both of his hands like on the table and like open, just to show that basically he means no harm. There's not going to be any funny business. He'll do it casually, not making a show of it, but like someone who does this sort of work often would probably take note of it.
He taps the side of his tumbler with a ringed finger, and he says, "Are you thirsty?"
I wouldn't say no.
He kind of quickly raises his other hand and gestures, and within moments, the barkeep brings another of the identical tumbler, full of this caramel colored alcohol. He raises his glass towards you. To business.
To business indeed. He'll raise it back and take a sip.
Now, you no doubt are a busy man. What is it that I can do for you?
Me and my crew are here on a routine stop to do some basic maintenance before we're on our way, but we do have some openings currently if there's anything that we can assist you with.
He kind of reaches up and like kind of strokes his like well-groomed beard on the tip of his chin. Well, there is certainly a few things, tasks that might need completing that are certainly better suited for a man of your particular talents.
My other folks have good heads on them. Whatever you would give me, you can be comfortable. I can help them, and we can do anything that you need.
Well, as it so happens, there is a gentleman that is causing me no small amount of grief in the moment, and well, if you could make certain that he changes his stance on one or two things, I would certainly find myself indebted to you and yours.
We can't have someone of your stature being held down by such grief. It would be a shame. No doubt a hindrance to your productivity.
Exactly, and productivity is exactly the point. So,
what sort of a man is causing you problems?
This man is in charge of a small but growing mining operation that takes place just off of the moon of Hades. It is known as the Hades Orbital Mining Enterprise, and his name is Mr. Neptune. He's a low-life gangster thug who managed to somehow weasel his way into a position of power with this mining operation, and it's proved to be more lucrative than I might have first guessed. And now, the taxes and fees that he's charging to deal with this mining operation are, well, they're just frankly unfair.
It's a shame that people like him abuse their power in such ways. He'll say, knowing that like that's almost certainly exactly what Mr. Roman does as well.
Without a doubt. And he doesn't even let the barb, affect him. You can tell that it's something that he is certainly not unaccustomed to being accused of.
And to be clear, Van did not mean that as an insult, more just like, that's just business. Van would look and just ask, so how far out of your hair do you want this guy? Basically coded way of asking, like, is this a killing job, or are we roughing him up, or like what's the aim?
Oh no, nothing quite as extreme as that. I wouldn't want any kind of harm to come to Mr. Neptune. After all, he is performing an important duty in running this mining operation. It's certainly not something I'd be interested in taking over. But he just needs to understand that his way of doing business just isn't friendly, if that makes sense.
It makes perfect sense.
Wonderful. I'm glad to hear it. And your usual fee would be acceptable, or do we need to negotiate our terms?
What would be Van's estimation of how well he got paid last time working with this guy? Did he get a fair shake from him, or?
What did you have a D6 relationship with him?
Yeah.
Let's roll and find out. Let's find out how it was last time.
Perfect.
So let's build a dice pool again, using distinctions, emotions, and roles that you might think apply. And then you can probably throw your relationship die on there, and possibly even a value.
Yeah. So I think I might pull out a hindrance here. One of my
Ooh,
questions is, how do you want to die? And I have outsmarted with a knife in my back.
Ooh,
So
nice.
this Mr. Roman here, I'm sure, did not get here by playing nice or playing fair, and at least had the potential to get an upper hand on Van in their dealings. Whether or not he did so
Perfect.
successfully, I guess we'll find out by the roll. But it's certainly possible that someone like Roman would have the wits about him to do so.
Yeah, I absolutely dig that. Absolutely. So taking your distinction as a hindrance instead of the typical D8, you'll roll a D4 instead, and you also earn an additional plot point. So you'll be back up to 2.
Perfect. As far as the other stuff here, values, I definitely think in this case it's not a stretch to use power.
No, not at all.
Given that both of us in this situation are sort of vying for it, not just within the relationship with each other, but in general.
Yeah, I would agree.
As far as roles, I think Thinker probably fits best here again, if that makes sense.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
And then the D6 from the relationship. And I don't know about emotion, if that's something that's necessary to the dice pool, or if it's also something that doesn't come in every single time. We can I guess,
Yeah,
find one.
It is one of the prime trait sets. So if we can try to figure out one that it's based in, that would be best. Let's see, perhaps desire.
That
could
makes
be possibly
sense, yeah.
driven. Mm-hmm. Okay.
Yeah, let's do that.
Perfect. All right. So if you have including your dice, the D6 that you have for the established relationship with him.
Yes. So
Perfect.
overall, I have 2 D6s, a D8, a D4, and a D12 is my
All right.
entire pool.
Hot damn. All right. So you're going to roll that up. And again, choose any 2 of them to form your total. And then you'll choose a third that will apply its die value to as your effect die.
Okay, and I get to make those choices after I roll the pool?
Correct. Yes. Mm-hmm.
Perfect.
And then let me know if you roll any 1s.
Ooh, okay, I did roll a 1.
Okay. 1/1 is a hitch, so that increases the heap of trouble from 3d6 to 4d6.
Nice.
Oh, I'm sorry. Actually, what value was the hitch on? That's how that works.
A D8.
A D8. Okay, so it is now 3d6 and 1d8 on the heap of trouble.
All right. So I on my D12 I rolled an 11, so I'm gonna pick that as one of the additions,
Sure.
and then on my D6 I got a 5. So I'll
Okay.
round that up to 16 with a D8 as my effect die.
Excellent. Okay. So, yeah, I would say that you made out pretty well the last time that you worked for Mr. Sylvia. It might have even been, kind of a windfall kind of situation where you might have been, stuck in some other jobs that you weren't necessarily as keen about, and doing this particular job gave you the freedom to maybe like join this crew and kind of fly at freelance for a while.
Yeah. So with all that dice rolling, Van will just say, my normal rate will be fine.
Wonderful to hear. So, Mr. Neptune, as I said, is on Hades. That's where you'll find him, and when the job's done, I would appreciate you letting me know, and then I'll get you the second half of your payment.
Of course. I'm sure when we make our way over there, we can figure out something to do while we're in the area.
Wonderful. I look forward to hearing the conclusion of this business. It was quite the word escapes me now. Serendipitous, I suppose, that I ran into you today, Mr. Vandross.
Yeah, Van will raise the a half-empty glass and say, "The chance encounters."
Chance encounters, and he'll clink your drink and down the rest of his.
Van will do the same with the rest of his drink before looking around and say, "Well, unless there's anything else of import, as you said, I'm a very busy man. I'm sure you are as well."
Indeed. If you give me maybe 15 minutes or so, I'll make sure that the first half of those funds are wired to your account, if the count is still the same.
Yes, it is.
Well, I look forward to seeing you again, Mr. Vandross.
And I you.
Excellent. And with the close of that scene, I think before we return to the rest, we're going to go ahead and take our break. So we're going to take 10 minutes to go to the bathroom, refill your drinks, kiss your spouse, smoke them if you got them, etc., etc. Thank you all so very, very much for tuning in so far. This has been incredible, way better than I even had in my mind. So I cannot wait to get to the second part of what I've got planned and see what the hell these characters are going to do next. So sit tight, and we will be right back. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the second half of our first episode of the Firefly trilogy that we are calling Stepping Stones. Tonight's episode is titled Dead Man's Hand, and so far this has been just way better than I could have ever anticipated. We're playing Cortex Prime, a system that is new for all of us. This is the first time I've ever run this system. It's the first time any of these players have played this system. So, so far so good. Everything's shiny. Yeah, I think we're going to get right back into it. Unless anybody has any questions that need to be addressed before we do so. Nope. Cool. All right. So the crew has arrived at Miser's Point, this kind of oil riggish outpost type station on the planet of New Melbourne. And chief amongst this platform, this outpost, it is run by a company called R&R Trading Company, who Van has just entered into a deal, perhaps even a lucrative deal, with the proprietor of, or one of the proprietors of R&R. Meanwhile, the ship is sitting at the dock, and Lily is tearing pieces off of it as need be. And it sounds like Quinn might be headed to the Golden Wolf casino. And meanwhile, Silas and Scoot are somewhat across town at the shop of a man named Nathaniel Douglas, who Scoot knows from his past, about trying to get the parts that they're needing so that their ship can be up and running again sooner rather than later. So I think we're going to head back to the shop where Silas, we come back to the scene, Silas is still standing exactly the same as like he was when we left, although it's clear like time has passed. And we kind of immediately pass back through that beaded curtain where Scoot and Nathaniel are in the back, kind of sorting through like racks on racks of kind of rusted and very used looking parts. He says, well, I know it's got to be here somewhere.
I can tell you still ain't got no sense of organization here.
Look, Scoot, it's a hell of a lot more organized than it was whenever you were here.
Because I moved things around in the way they were better easy to find.
Move things around. The stuff that stayed on the shelves, at least.
What about in the back there?
Maybe. Well, I ain't back there. Well, hell, I don't know. And he's going to kind of move over there and start like shifting heavy, big things kind of out of the way so that he can even access the part that you're talking about. And as he's kind of doing so, he's kind of muscling this to the side. He says, how in the hell did you end up working for a slick like that?
Well, you talking about Silas?
You're working for more than one?
Well, first off, I don't work for him. I work with him. We're sort of what you'd call equals.
Ah, I see. You got your
I
name on the
glance
side
over
of
my
that ship?
shoulder to make sure he can't hear me.
Right. No, you got McDuff written on the outside of that ship then, do you?
No, it's the heck. Oh, yeah, I see what you mean. Look, I work with a decent crew of people. We take care of each other. We do what's got to be done, and yeah, the captain's a good guy. He caught me trying to sneak onto his ship a while back, and just trying to get off world, and decided not to tan my hide and put me back down on the rock. And Yeah, I've been sailing the black with them ever since, all back and forth all across the verse.
Well, I'm glad to hear that the captain's a good guy, but is he? He kind of like indicates Silas.
Look, you'd be hard pressed not to notice the stick shit sticking all the way up his ass, but that's just Silas. When things get serious, you kind of want to have him at your side.
I ain't
And-
worried about how well he scrapes. Look, when people like that are, well, they're not unaccustomed to taking advantage of people like us, Scoot.
That's why I'm here. I keep an eye on things. They don't see things at the same level that we do. They look at things through the only eyes they got. They don't realize that people like us, we're looking at them with different eyes. That's what I like to be with them. I like to be that extra set of eyes, looking at things just a little bit different, seeing the things they might not see, or seeing them in a way they don't see them. And yeah, making sure. Look, Silas is a hard ass, but he ain't gonna try to take advantage of anybody.
Well, I truly hope so. Scoot, I truly hope so. Just, well, like you said, just keep your eyes open.
I've always got my eyes open. Besides,
Never
that's
did
why I'm
understand.
here too. Make sure you don't take advantage of us.
Oh, yeah, I'm certain of the one that you need to be worrying about swindling someone. Here we go. He kind of reaches down and finds this part, kind of buried, like 4 deep on the shelf. It's covered in dust and cobwebs. He chases off some kind of, strange insects. Well, yeah, I think this ought to do it here. Might need a little bit of elbow grease cleaning it up, but I think it should work. This is the part you're looking for?
That looks like it.
All right.
I mean, it's the only one you got. Hey, you ain't by any chance heard of a baseball, have you? I think that's what it's called.
Baseball? No, I have heard of something called a baseball before, but what?
Yeah. That looks kind of like a round leather thing all stitched up, but it's supposed to look like that.
Yeah.
It just,
What do you need a rudden baseball for, Scoot?
it's just something somebody was looking for. Thought maybe I could hook them up.
All right. Well, let me see what I can do. I don't think I've got one here, but somebody on Miser's Point might.
Yeah, if you could keep an eye out and ask around a bit, and before we head on out of here, I'll swing back by.
All right. Well, he said, kind of handing you the part. It'll take any mechanic worth their salt at least 12 hours to install that part, so I figure I got some time to look for you.
Well, Lily's got me helping her, so it'll only take about 8 hours probably.
12 and a half. Oh. Right. Okay. Well, I'm happy to hear that you've gotten better at working mechanics. Makes me kind of happy.
Yeah, I don't know what they'd do without me.
I'm sure they'll have to think of something eventually, Scoot. But let's head back to that stick up the ass.
Yeah, he's the one that's got the credits.
And he's definitely the one I gotta talk to. He kind of makes his way back out of this like junk pile, stepping over, pieces that are easily bigger than he is. Makes his way back out through the beaded curtain, with Scoot carrying the part. Well, I think I found what you're looking for, Mr. Harrow.
Yeah, I imagine we see like Silas standing there. It's one of those like shots where like he's not moving and everyone's like zipping around him because he's been there for so long, you know. And he just doesn't move at all. And then he'll like take the steps forward and have a look at the part. He doesn't super know what he's doing, but he is extremely good at looking like he knows what he's doing. And so he's going to look it over, and he's going to especially try and look to see if it has any issues at the part that Lily showed him. This thing that usually is an issue.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I think it's probably got like a dent, kind of where it threads into place, and it's obvious that the threads are kind of like cross stripped or something because of it.
He'll look at the part and he'll wince. Well, it's got some damage over here by the thread, so. And he'll look like he doesn't really want to buy it that much. And he'll look to Scoot and say, "This is the best you could find."
I'm going to kind of play both sides here a little bit because I want us to get our part, but I also don't want Nate to get screwed. I kind of want to help Nate out a little bit. So I'm like, yeah, not always the best parts coming through here, but it is the only one he's got, and we really need one.
Well, all right. That damage is going to set us back quite a bit, and it's obviously not a new part. So I think we cut 35% off asking price.
Whoa. He kind of like intercedes. But what I'd like to do is form a dice pool and make a roll. And let's see how this is going to go down. So I think in this situation that because Scoot is here and he has this kind of established, connection with this gentleman, that I would like for you to consider using your relationship die that you have with Scoot.
For sure.
In this roll.
Okay, so we start with the distinctions, right?
Right, yeah. Look at the distinction and see if one of those three fits the best.
I would say getting by until I can get back what's mine.
Sure.
The one that makes the most sense.
Absolutely, yep. I think so.
A D8.
Yeah, it'll be a D8.
I think my emotion... I guess it's desire. I want the thing, huh? And I'm trying to show that I don't.
Okay, sure. That makes really good sense.
It's not my best, but I think that makes the most sense.
Yeah, I agree. You're kind of trying to contain your desire.
Right. Roll. I don't have good fixer, but I do have really good sneak or it's a good talker actually as well.
Yeah, talker I can certainly see an argument for. Yeah, I think that makes sense.
We've got a D6 with Scoot, even if he doesn't have that with me. I kind of like the little guy. And
is there a value that could apply? Possibly.
Yeah, maybe. So maybe it's duty. I got to get the part for the ship.
Ooh, okay.
And I do think that Silas takes his self-ascribed role as captain very seriously, even if nobody else thinks he's the captain. Like it is important to him.
Right. Yeah. He believes it.
Yeah.
That's the thing.
All right.
Right.
So let's say.
Yeah, I think that makes sense.
Let's say duty. And I don't think I have any assets that help me.
Okay.
I have like the ship, but
okay. Well, arguably the ship could be. Well, I guess you're not really using the ship in this situation
using it,
so much. That's fair.
Okay. So I got 2 D8s and 3 D6s. So I just roll them all and add it together?
No, you roll all of them, and you're going to choose 2 to add to your total, and then a third that you'll choose as the die type to be your effect die. It's basically how good of an effect it is. If you roll any ones, they cannot be used in your total or your effect die, and I need to know.
Yep, I rolled 1 on a D6. Okay. I'm going to use my 2 D8s for my total, which will be 15. And I'll use a 5 for a D6 for effect die. So
okay, 15
rolled a 15. Total? Yep,
with a D6 effect die. Excellent.
Yeah.
Okay. So he kind of looks from from Scoot to you. Well, look, I'm gonna be real honest with you. That part right there, it doesn't really do much. It busts on most of the parts that are like this ones that they made in. But I understand not wanting to buy something that's got, damage done to it, and it certainly isn't the newest part. It's sat here on the shelf for quite some time, so I think I'm willing to shave maybe 20% off the price.
Silas will look aggrieved and devastated. He sucks through his teeth and looks at Scoot. All right, but only because Scoot says you're a good man, and he'll do this thing he's learned that people like Salty Earth people do, where he spits in his hand and then extends it.
He kind of looks at your hand, kind of cocks his head to the side, almost like a dog that's not quite sure exactly what he's seeing, and then he'll grab your hand and shake it, and kind of looks at Scoot with this confused look, like.
Yeah, he read it in a book that people on border moons do this to seal a deal,
Right. He shakes the hand. He kind of gives you that data pad so that you can kind of fill out the relevant payment information and things, while he kind of takes the part over to a workbench and starts cleaning it. You're kind of spraying it down with some kind of liquid and scraping at it with some steel wool type stuff and cleaning it up as best he can. Before long, you have the part that you are looking for. I did not write down what it was, and now I can't remember what it was that Jeffrey's mount. That's right.
Jeffrey's mount.
Jeffrey's mount gives you the Jeffrey's mount, and you're able to start heading back towards the ship.
I call back to Nathaniel and just say, thanks a lot. We'll swing by before we break out of here, and see you soon. Good to see you.
As well, Scoot.
I immediately turn to Silas as we're heading out the door. Why the hell did you spit in your rotten hand? That's gross.
He closes his eyes for a second to pull the information from his brain, and then we'll rattle off a chapter or a part of a book where it's on many border moons, common people like to seal deals with strange and nuanced ways. One of these includes spitting in the hand to seal a deal as sort of gutsy honor. And he'll reel that off like he's read it in a book, and then looks at you is that not true?
As I just imagine this part it's not a huge part, but it's dense metal piece. So Scoot's probably the one that's holding it, kind of cradling it in both arms. And as you're rattling this off behind you, I'm just going, yeah. I guess in some backwater rocks that might be true.
Well, it seemed to work just fine there. We got the part, didn't we? And for a discount too.
Yep.
All right, come on.
In the back of my mind, I know he probably could have gotten another 5% off of it, but glad that he didn't.
Excellent.
So maybe what I'll do is I'll send Scoot back to the ship, and I'll wait at the entrance to the shop for a van.
Yeah, I imagine as you are leaving the shop, you might even see Van kind of, making his way down a set of stairs from one of the upper levels or something. Okay, and as the three of you kind of start making your way back to the ship or whatever else that you're going to be doing, I think we're going to cut inside to the Golden Wolf Casino, and we see an individual across the table holding his cards close and tumbling a chip over the knuckles of his other hand. Yase Kashi studies his opponent. Now the captain of a smuggling ship known as the Border Roll. Kashi had flown as an ace pilot with the Browncoats during the Unification War. Across the table, just so happens to be sitting Quinn.
Quinn is studying the man and watching the chip that he's manipulating in his hand, and he'll slide forward a small stack of his own. I'll raise.
He studies.
Just stares at the man's stone face.
Right. He studies your featureless expression, trying to find any kind of tell. You notice that his chips are down. He's tumbling one of the last he has still seated on his side of the table. The pot is swollen at this moment. And something that you learned very quickly from this individual. Well, actually, let's leave it up to a roll. Let's assemble a die pool to see if kind of what your read of this man has been as you've played cards with him. So let's find a distinction that could work. Of the three, do you have one in mind?
I kind of think that the how do you want to die might be because I'm playing cautiously and also old and comfortable, preferably in my sleep.
Okay.
I think that's kind of just lending to the way that I'm.
Yeah, absolutely. Same approach, kind of a cautious, careful, measured. Yeah. Okay, so that'll be a D8.
Okay.
How about emotion?
I'm thinking either desire or fear. I'm worried about I think I'm scared that if I lose money, then I'll have to tell people that I was tell the crew I was here gambling.
Ooh, okay.
With
Sure.
So I think it's either that or just desire because I want to make the money.
Okay.
I don't know, I think I'm gonna I'll go with fear because I think that's kind of motivating my desire.
Yeah, that makes good sense.
Really read him. It's another D8.
Okay, cool. What about a roll?
I mean, I want to say hot shot because that's a good one for me, but
yeah,
I
imagine with a pot. Sense? I mean, with a pot this large, hot shot makes sense because the way that hot shot's defined is when the pressure's on, that's when you do the best. So I think that would certainly apply.
Okay, so that's going to be a 10.
Okay, excellent.
And then
I don't know about signature assets.
The only thing I have is the Alliance X Captain. But I don't see that the being Alliance would. I mean,
to be honest, though, are you outwardly Alliance, or would you have said or let on that you were?
I think the only thing that might give it away is that the cut of my jacket, literally just the cut of my jacket, is Alliance officer cut, but nothing else about it gives it away. So but a brown coat might recognize that.
I would think so.
I'm guessing this would be a weird place for someone who was more openly sporting Alliance.
I mean, yes and no. It's not really weird to see Alliance people out and about because, again, in their minds, they own the whole damn verse. So
fair enough. Yeah.
But a place like this is not the place that a lot of Alliance people would likely visit, just because it's a little more rough and tumble.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So yeah, I think your alliance signature asset could
Alright.
feature into this roll.
Yeah, that one's another 8.
Okay.
I'll have to re-roll one of these. Okay, that's 4 dice. That seems
Alright.
like plenty. And what was this one? This one was a 5. That other one was an 8. So I'm going to keep that and re-roll that. And it's a 3. So I guess I will be using so 13 is my overall roll. The D8 is my effect die.
Okay, and you had no ones?
No ones.
Okay, excellent. All right, so you've been able to kind of piece together a little bit about who Yasukashi is. And you know that he seems to be a sucker for any time that the pot gets big, that the stakes are really high. He seems to, his judgment seems to lapse more. And you also overheard him before you sat down at the table, though he was trying to be quiet. He mentioned that he supposedly has a pair of Gerstler 8s, which are compression exchange mounts that you could upgrade the Heck with. They come from a class of ship called the Fenris class, and you know that their VTOL engines are interchangeable with the Kepler. So essentially, your engines each currently have 6 of these compression exchangers on them, but with the Gerstler 8s, each engine would now have 8, and it would increase the Hex speed by 125%. Not to mention cut down on fuel loss and things of that nature.
So figuring all of this, I think Quinn would take a look at this guy's chips, kind of size them up, and make add to the pot with his raise in such a way that it would clearly outstrip the guy's ability to stay in.
Yeah, and the moment that you kind of make that bet, kind of slide that, amount of chips in, the players who have already folded but are still seated at the table all kind of suck air through their teeth for a second. That kind of, this is a big move. And we see Yashikashi look down at his chips and realize that he can't match. He kind of looks at his cards again. He says, I'll tell you what. I got a pair of Gerstler 8s that, I might be willing to throw on here if you'll consider it as collateral. Now, I ain't no fool. I know a pair of Gerstler 8s is worth more than the difference in the pot here, but I happen to see that you came in on a Kepler, and should look like a mighty fine ship.
It does what we need it to.
So maybe we can sweeten the deal just a little bit, and I'll offer up the Gerstlers that I've got. But maybe you could offer me a ride. If I win, that is. Free passage.
Okay. Sounds like a deal. Depends where you're going, of course.
Well, I'm sure we can work out the details. He kind of rolls his shoulders. All right. He puts a data pad kind of out on the pile and you can see this image depicted on the screen of these Gersler 8s. And these are the kind of thing that, Gersler is an engine company, and they only made so many of these parts at one point. And that coming across a complete set of these that actually works it's like finding a muscle car from the 60s that still runs. It's just kind of that thing where there's not a lot of people that have access to these. You can see the depiction of the image of those things kind of shown on this data pad. Then I'll call.
Quinn will lay his hand down and hope it's a good one, like I'm doing right now.
Yep. All right. So I think this is going to be another roll for basically how well you have played your cards. This is going to be against his roll. Okay. All right. Find anything that you think would apply, Austin? I'm gonna go with hot shot for him too.
You're muted, Austin, if you're talking.
Oh, yep. I thought
Whoops.
he was still contemplating.
Whoops.
Sorry.
Nope. So I was thinking hot shot again because
Sure.
this is a high pressure situation.
Definitely.
Oh my gosh, yeah, this is not amazing. I'm like trying to figure out which ones of these would work the best. I mean, I gotta play it honest and say, like, does I mean, I feel like it's the same pool mostly, that it's like desire or fear. Like,
Certainly.
I don't know, Jeremy.
There's nothing wrong with that.
Okay, I mean, I'm thinking basically just the same pool as before, where it's like I've been playing as comfortable as like carefully as I can, and I'm like scared of trying to lose. Like I feel like I wouldn't go all in if I didn't trust my hand.
Certainly.
That's what I'm guessing from what I think of the character.
Yeah. The only argument that I might have is that the alliance thing might not apply.
That's what I was
roll.
thinking. Yeah. So just the three, 2d8s and a d10.
Okay.
Ooh, there's a 1 on there.
Okay, so that's a hitch. What kind of die was it that had the hitch?
That was d8.
D8. Okay.
Do I? Let's see. Oh yeah. Okay, but so does that mean I don't get an effect die, or I have to because I only have 3 dice?
Okay, you only have 3 dice in your pool. So yes, the first 2 have to go to your total, and then if you don't have one for your effect die, it defaults to a d4.
Okay, then that's going to be a 13. I rolled a 9 on that d10. Dang you, 1.
Okay. So out of his pool, he also rolled 2 1s. So he's only able to apply dice to his total as well, and he only got a 9. So, let's see how. Okay. You lay your cards down. And just for shits and giggles, we're going to say you have 2 pair, aces and 8s. And the crowd kind of, not the crowd, the people sitting at the table, kind of watching this unfold, kind of sigh. You can hear them, because that's a hell of a hand to have been sitting on. And you see the disappointment in Kashi's face, and he lays his hand down, and he has kings and 7s, knowing that he had a set of pairs himself that he felt was strong. It just wasn't strong enough.
That was well played. I would have made the same bet in your situation. And Quinn will reach out a hand to shake his hand.
Yeah, he reaches across and shakes your hand, kind of like shaking his head. Well, I guess you can't win them all.
I am open to discussing transport if that is still something you're in need of. We do occasionally take on passengers.
Well,
Perhaps not free of charge, and he'll give a little smile at that.
maybe we can work something out. Go get a drink real quick. He kind of turns and heads towards the bar.
I'll buy it, and he'll start scooping up all the chips.
Well, that's really kind of you, friend. What did you say your name was?
Harwick.
Harwick, right.
Quinn. You can call me Quinn.
Quinn Harwick. Well, it's a pleasure to meet you, sir. I couldn't help but tell. Maybe it was, the way you hold yourself or something. But you must be Alliance.
I wouldn't quite say that.
No, you weren't a purple belly back in the war.
Gives a little bit of a wince at that. I spent some time with the Alliance. That is true. I no longer. Well, let's just say I don't get back to the core worlds too often anymore.
Yeah, I can imagine it might have left a bad taste in your mouth.
Got out before I could, before I had to cut my tongue off. So,
well, there's some small things to be thankful for, I suppose. As you're making your way to the bar, he turns around and accidentally bumps into someone, a rather rough-looking individual who's kind of stumbling and staggering, very obviously a drunk person. And he kind of bumps into him, and he immediately throws his hands up. Oh, sorry about that, friend. Didn't see you there. And the guy's kind of glowering down at him. What's your problem? You don't watch where you're going?
Hey, buddy. Quinn will put just a gentle hand on his shoulder. It's clearly an accident. He said he was sorry. We're gonna go get a drink now if you'll just excuse us.
And who in the Gorem are you? He kind of like slaps your hand off of him.
Fella not looking for any trouble. I assure you, you don't need any trouble either. Why don't we just go our separate ways?
Are you threatening me, little man?
Not in the slightest. But if you'll please. And he'll just keep kind of pushing away from him in that way of I'm not dealing with this.
All of a sudden, out of almost nowhere to the side of you, you see Yesikashi leaps forward and squares up this guy on the jaw with his fist. Just absolutely clocks this dude, who staggers backwards into a waitress carrying a tray full of drinks that just spill and splash all over a nearby table. And he staggers back, but keeps his feet out from underneath of, or out underneath of him, and he kind of reels up, and you hear his neck crack as he turns his head from side to side. And that's, Quinn, when you realize that Kashi is gone. And this massive individual is looking around, and you realize he doesn't see Kashi either. But he does see you.
Hey, man, I didn't even know that guy. And he's just going to straight up turn and start running for an exit. Quinn has no compunction about about leaving a rough situation that he doesn't need to be in.
Excellent.
He's got like, you can like hear in his pockets, he's got all the like chips still that he hasn't fully cashed in yet.
Right.
They're just like jingling, one or two just fly out as he's running.
And all around you, the casino is starting to, like erupt in fist fighting. And, all of these people who have had drinks spilled on them, who have been bumped into, now all of a sudden, it is beginning to ripple away from you and this giant of a man. Okay, so as Quinn is hauling ass out of the Golden Wolf Casino, back towards the ship, Scoot, you have returned to the Heck with the piece that you've been needing, and if your first place to go was the engine room, then I think that's where we're going to have you be.
Yeah, this thing's not light. I'm taking it straight down to Lily.
Okay, cool. So as you kind of come back in with that part, let's kind of get that started. That scene played out.
Lily would just be sitting at her desk doing God knows what.
The door opens up, and by this point, you're probably surprised to see me coming through your door, because I don't come through the door very often.
Right.
And
Hey, Scoot.
kind of come in sort of back first, pushing in through. Hey, I found you one of them baseballs. Well, not exactly, but I got you a Jeffrey's mount.
Well, you guys were quick. And I kind of go over to him and I help him because I can see it's heavy for him. And I like take it from him and I look over it and it looks like it's in decent enough shape.
Yeah, you might have to clean it up. Maybe, use a couple of gaskets to kind of, buffer the difference, but you're pretty sure you can make it work.
I'm like, all right. Well, this will do the job. This will last us a good couple of years.
Yeah, it should be pretty good. You got to watch out though. Silas said it's got strippers threads.
Stripped threads.
Yeah, that's what I said.
I saw that too. That's all right. We can make it work. Yeah. All right. And you didn't find me my baseball?
Not yet. I got a line on it.
All right. Well, I trust you, Scoot. Thank you very much. I appreciate the help. You want to come help me do the deal?
Yeah.
And I kind of just put it under my arm and I go back to where you would install it. And I say, go ahead and grab me that gasket set on my desk and come with me. And then I just kind of start getting it up and set ready.
The two of you kind of move back to where this part needs to go again. And all of a sudden the engine kicks on. Shit. And it starts to warm up.
Shit.
And you can hear, it sounds like somebody is starting the takeoff procedure.
Silas, Van, Quinn.
And I think that's where we're going to immediately cut. As we hear the engine revving, we're going to cut to a flashback. I'm going to do a flashback scene where we see a younger Silas fleeing through the streets of Capital City, making his way into a private spaceport. As he makes his way towards a shinier, sleeker Kepler transport, it is possible, we realize, that it could be the same ship as the Heck. But it's hard to determine because of the difference in the wear and the tear and the parts on the outside. What is Silas doing in this moment?
He's really trying to keep it together. It's all fallen down around him in the last hour or so. And he's running with like a duffel bag of things that he was able to grab. He's got his father's fanciest, heavily customized dueling pistol strapped to his hip. It's worth a fortune. He's taken that. In the duffel bag, he has like a bunch of clothes and as much like paper money as he could stuff into it, and like a marble chess set, which he thought would be useful. And like he's not ready to do this. And he's just like sprinting as fast as he can to get the hell out of here. There are people after him. He knows that, and that they're very dangerous people. So he's trying to get to the ship as quick as possible.
And it's as you're approaching with that kind of panic and fear kind of trying to take hold of you, that you realize as you kind of round through the door or whatnot to see the Heck. And again, I think this is probably even before it was the Heck, right? You know, it had whatever serial numbers was, you know, on this, and, you know, whatever its maiden name was. And you realize that somebody is starting the engine. We hear that kind of bleed over from the scene that we were just in of the engine starting, and now we realize that it's in this flashback that the engine is starting. Someone is on board and is starting the takeoff procedure.
He doesn't stop to think. That's really convenient. And he sometimes has been very lucky. And he thinks, okay, great. One of the servants saw me going and got here to start the ship for me. Excellent. So he like rushes on to the ship and will like fling. Actually, no, he won't fling because there's a marble chest in there. So he'll very carefully put down his duffel bag and then rush to like the cockpit to see what the hell's happening.
And as Silas kind of breaches the door into the bridge, looking in, you realize that no, it's certainly not one of your family's servants. Quinn, what does he find there?
He finds a frantic and panicking Alliance officer still in his uniform, just throwing switches, who immediately sees him enter the bridge and just freezes for a moment and says, "Oh, thank goodness. Can you realign the thermal actuator? We're not getting off the ground if you don't. Go, go, go. It's in the engine room. Turn the big wheel to the right. The big wheel on the far left side."
Yeah, he like Silas stepped in and he like had his hand on the holster of the gun and was about to say, "How dare you!" And then he just realizes like, okay, we could actually get out of here though, and just like throws that speech away and like rushes. I guess he's like swinging under one thing and then like, you know, like running so fast down the stairs that he's like basically like jumping down them, and we'll like rush to the engine room and like there are like 50 different big wheels, and like the whole place is enormous. So he'll go to the first one he sees and just begins like turning it. He'll hit it the comms. Will that do it?
Yeah, you hear that engine warming up noise, like kind of sputters twice and seems to kick into full gear as these thrusters like lift the ship up, and just that initial lift up before it starts like really pushing with the jet engine. And like, I think we're on.
I guess there's like gunshots smashing the side of the ship, and he's like sprinting back up towards the cockpit, and like the door is still open, so he'll like lean out the side and like get us the hell out of here.
I'm trying to. I gotta be honest. You might be in for something now. Like you may have committed a felony by being on here with me.
Well, I know that you did.
Perfect. As the Heck kind of takes off and heads away, we see these small arms fire, kind of, you know, ping, 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 you know, causing sparks off the outside of the hull. One of them hits the part of one of the windows in one of the more ornate kind of rooms on this pleasure yacht, and there's like a small crack that forms, but the window itself doesn't break. And we kind of see that window and stay with that window for a while as the glass slowly kind of grimes and we fade back into the present. And that crack is still there. It still has not been replaced. But now we hear the same sound, that engine turning over. On board the ship, Scoot and Lily, when you have heard this engine starting, what are you doing?
Silas, Quinn, Van. What the hell are we doing? Stop the engine. Guys?
I immediately, as she's trying the comms, I kick open the bulkhead access panel and slip into the service tunnel and begin moving past wires and pipes and things, making my way towards the bridge.
Yes, to answer.
I would turn to Scoot and say, Scoot, just go to your quarters, cover your, but as soon as I turn, he's gone.
Right. To answer your question, Austin, yes, you have they're almost like a walkie-talkie. They look like a CB radio, but without a wire attached to it. It's like a small palm-sized thing.
Gotcha.
Okay, yeah, Quinn would just shoot back. I'm on the way back. What's going on?
So, you're not on the ship?
No, I told you I'd be gone for a little bit.
Holy shit. Somebody's starting the ship, and I said, get here as soon as you can. And as soon as I do, Lily has a gun, and she would start to head up towards the cockpit. And she would take her lucky wrench for no reason other than that it's lucky.
Perfect. Okay. And as Scoot and Lily kind of make their way towards the bridge, and Quinn undoubtedly is now, running through the streets of, Miser's Point. What is the reaction of Van and Silas whenever this call goes out over the radio?
I imagine similar to Quinn, Van will just break into a run back towards the ship. Probably gun already drawn, just so that when he gets into the ship, it'll be ready just in case there are more than he doesn't know how many people are on the ship. And we'll just break a mad sprint towards it.
And maybe there's just a brief look where they look at each other and go, and then both start sprinting.
Perfect. All right. And I think there's probably at one point where, we see Van and Quinn and Silas almost collide with one another as they approach from different paths to the point of their path back to the ship where there's, it's all one convened location. You almost kind of run into each other and then, turn and head as a unit towards the ship. Meanwhile, Lily and Scoot are moving through the ship itself in various different ways towards the bridge. I think there's probably a lot of distance between the bridge and the engine room. That seems to kind of be a typical thing. And I think narratively I'm going to go with Scoot arriving on the scene first. I imagine these passageways and things are shortcuts that he has figured out a lot of the shortest paths from place to place on the ship. So Scoot, you are inside these access tunnels where, full-grown people don't typically access, and you're moving amongst these pipes and wires that are run everywhere, and you manage to make your way to an access panel that is in the bridge, and you can see an individual that is absolutely putting the heck through its takeoff routine, just very frantically flipping switches and turning dials. Come on. One of these things has to be the right button.
And I do not recognize this individual.
No.
I'm gonna just take a look around. Is he alone?
Yeah, seems to be.
All right, I'm gonna clocking that it's just one guy. I am going to turn around and quietly start moving through another tunnel, trying to head Lily off, knowing whatever route, or anybody for that matter, knowing the routes that would lead towards the bridge. Maybe trying to head them off so I can at least tell them what to expect.
Okay. So Lily, where is it? What part of the ship are you passing through that Scoot catches you?
I would imagine it's like I'm passing by like the crew's quarters. Like it's pretty freaking close to the bridge, and
Sure.
that's where he would catch me, I imagine.
And you just hear the hatch is partially open, and you just hear,
What?
there's somebody on the bridge. Just one guy. I ain't never seen him before.
Okay. Was
You
he
don't-
armed?
Yeah. Well, I don't know. He didn't seem too confident in what he was doing.
Okay.
He seems all fired up,
Son of a bitch.
but he's by himself.
Yeah. And I kind of like would pull my pistol out and be like, good. And I say, Scoot, you run to the landing there, meet the guys, tell them what you just told me, and I'll take care of this in the meantime. Okay?
Careful.
Yeah. And I just kind of like I start heading towards the bridge.
And I take off towards towards the back of the ship, still staying in the service tunnels.
Okay. Scoot, you move back towards the back of the ship. We have a real quick shot where we see the three, still running towards the ship. They can see it in the distance now and making their way up to the platform where it is currently parked. We cut back inside to see Lily approaching the bridge. Are you attempting to sneak up on this individual?
Yeah.
Okay. Then let's get a roll.
Yay!
All right.
Okay. So you're gonna have to walk me through this. I think I know,
Absolutely.
but I'm not sure.
Yeah. So the first place you want to start is one of your distinctions. See if
Okay.
any of those make the most sense out of the three of them.
I would say I don't know. I guess
What do you have listed for where in the verse are you from?
yeah, I have hinder is my obviously, and then I have Lily gains a bonus die on knowledge of outer worlds. Lily loses a die on knowledge of core worlds.
So yeah, those will be your special effects. Those won't go into effect here.
Okay,
What is
right.
what is the answer that you wrote down for where in the verse are you from?
All over.
All over.
So,
Okay.
yeah.
Let's see. What do you have for why do you sail the black?
To escape.
Okay. And
Um,
how do you want to die? What do you have?
somewhere green.
Okay. So I think I could see an argument for either from all over or
Mhm.
from to escape. Because if you had to be stealthy or sneaky in order to escape whatever it is that you were running from, I would
Yeah.
certainly say that you could call upon that.
I would say all over, just because that
Okay.
kind of speaks to both like literally physically where Lily's from and
Mm-hmm.
emotionally, mentally where Lily's from.
Sure.
Okay.
All right, cool. So
so-
you'll get a D8 for that.
Perfect. Okay.
And then we need an emotion that could possibly play into this.
All right. This would be honestly probably anger that somebody would be stealing the heck or
Sure.
trying to steal the heck.
Absolutely. I can
Yep.
absolutely see that.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, let's see. I'm building his kind of alongside of you here.
Okay. Okay. Sure.
And then what role do you think would apply here?
I feel like it's meta to not say sneak, but I would
No, that's
say
fair.
almost like that the heavy would be because Lily is about to choose violence.
Sure.
So you know.
Yeah,
So
I think it's
would-
it's definitely not. It doesn't have to be a literal thing. So I think heavy could absolutely work.
I
Instead
think
of snake.
heavy is probably more accurate, actually, and I'm not cheating.
Sure.
I swear.
No,
I'm all about the honor system.
It's about kind of what your character is taking into the situation.
Right.
Like if they're in their mind, they're thinking like, a heavy, a bruiser, then
a heavy
that
hand
absolutely makes
here.
sense. Yeah, exactly.
Okay. So yeah.
All right. I don't think we're going to have a relationship that qualifies unless you want to spend a plot point to try to establish one.
Nope.
Value, possibly.
I would say honestly, duty is probably this value for Lily.
Absolutely.
Yeah, she feels a loyalty to this place and these people. So.
Absolutely. Okay. So I think you could qualify for whatever value you have, whatever die you have, rather.
Yep.
Can I ask a question just as just to understand the system better?
100%.
Like would something like in this situation, her relationship with Quinn potentially come into play because she would know the bridge, which is his area, more specifically? Or does it have to be more specifically tied to the relationship?
Like he's there and I have to feel.
Yeah. Yes.
Okay.
Either he's actually there or there's an immediate. I'm trying to think of a way without spoiling stuff from the show. There's a scene, and I won't go into what, but there's a scene with Mal and Wash at one point, and things aren't going great. And they're discussing Zoe. So very much, I think that the roles that Wash's player would be using in that scene he would be able to call on Zoe's relationship die, even though she's not present in the scene. The relationship between the two of them is very much
primary to the scene. That makes sense. Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Exactly. Yep.
Okay. So I could see none of those being applicable, probably.
Yeah.
Here.
No, I don't think so.
Unless we were really stretching it, which
right.
Fair. Okay. So do I just roll these then?
Yeah, you're going to roll all of those dice, and if you got any ones, they'll be set aside, and I need to know if there are any.
Whoa, there are no ones, and I rolled like a boss, boys.
Sweet. Okay. So you're going to look for two dice, any two dice, to add together for your total, and then you want a third die, and the die type of that third die will become your effect die.
Okay. All right. So the two die I will add together are both 6s, so that makes a 12.
Okay.
And the effect die is a D8.
Okay. All right. So I got a single hitch. And
suck it.
My total, however, is a 16.
Oh, well, okay.
And I have a D10 effect die.
Ew, okay.
So you're doing great, Lily. Sneaking in. You're even maybe taking it slow, kind of walking on the balls of your feet kind of thing. And you get in the door and you see this individual seated there at the console with his back squarely to you. And you make it about 3 steps onto the bridge before you hear the hammer of a gun cock. And you can see the barrel kind of just barely sticking underneath his arm, kind of back in your direction. He says, "I wouldn't move much closer if I were you."
And kind of without making any noise, Lily is already pointed at this guy. And she would just say, "And if I were you, I wouldn't touch one more button on that console."
He kind of swivels around in the pilot's chair and brings his own gun kind of to bear around on you, kind of low, almost in his lap. "Well, if I didn't know any better, I'd say you're a bona fide mechanic."
Oh, you'd have that right.
So, I know as a mechanic that you likely know your tools well, but how well do you know that tool? He kind of indicates your gun.
I know it well enough. And I know a thief when I see one. You're going to sit right here until Quinn gets back.
Look, Quinn and I are old friends.
Huh. He's never mentioned you.
I won the heck fair and square in a game of cards that, well, to be frank, he couldn't make it to the end of the game.
Okay. Would I be able to make any kind of a what is an insight check in this game? Can I do like
he is 100% bullshitting.
Okay, good. Perfect. I'm like, all right, well, I know Quinn is not that great of a gambler, but I know he's not stupid.
No. Like I said, he just, he got involved in the wrong game, got in over his head. That's all. But look, I need a mechanic. So here's what I'm gonna offer. 50% of whatever cut we make. Right now, you cut out with me. We'll just head out of here, find ourselves someplace a little far away from here, and we can start working jobs right away. 50% up front. It's got to be more than you're getting now.
And for a second, Lily looks tempted. But she just sort of like, kind of like something. She looks at her gun and she notices like a ding on the edge of it, and she remembers it was a time when Scoot was messing around with her stuff and dropped it, and it made a hick, like a dash. And then she just sort of shakes her head and she's like, no, you're gonna sit right here and you're gonna wait for Quinn, and we're gonna get this sorted out. If you lost this ship to you, I would be the first to know about it, not you.
He kind of puts his hands up, kind of gingerly puts the gun kind of back in its holster. Perhaps we got off on the wrong foot. So, if you're not interested in 50%, well, maybe I overstepped my bounds just a bit. And he kind of like starts to get up out of the chair. You did.
Stand up. Come with me.
Stand up.
And I kind of like, at this point, I would like reach out and I would put my hand, I would like grab his jacket, and I kind of want to like move him in front of me. So he's like walking in front of me, and I want to walk him back towards like the ramp.
So you're gonna let me go, right? Just big.
I will shoot you in the back of the head if I don't like what you have to say to Quinn. Quinn's on his way.
Look, there's no reason to get so violent, man.
You haven't seen me violent. Keep walking and shut up. You're making me mad.
He walks along with his hands held up. The three of you are now arriving at the ramp, and you can see Lily approaching through the hold, through the cargo hold, with this individual that Quinn, you recognize, with his hands held up.
And I kind of like, I would kind of like push him towards the guys a little bit. And I would just be like, you guys figure this out. I've already done more than once in my pay grade.
That's one hell of a mechanic you got there. He kind of looks at Quinn.
Yeah, she's real good at her job. Now, here's the thing. I'm wondering, were you just dropping by to drop off those Gersler 8s and you happened to
yeah, you know,
happened to stumble in?
I was just kind of coming by to see, whether the you bring your parts by. Well, I mean, not exactly.
Lily's lighting a cigarette. It's like, he was trying to steal the ship.
Well, not exactly. He kind of puts one of the hands kind of up, kind of turned towards Lily. That's not exactly the way it played out. I mean,
well, I know it's not the way it played out, but I know it's certainly the hand you played. So, what are we going to do about this? At the very least, I'm going to need to see those Gerslers.
Well, you see, the thing is that, well,
I'm going to shoot him in the leg.
With me. Okay.
Oh my God.
I was a second behind you as with you too.
All right. Yeah, you shoot him in the leg, and he drops to that knee and screams out, "You fucking shot me!"
You're not
Oof,
playing
I-
any games here. You better start talking. You better start talking straight, or the next one's in your head.
I cannot believe you go and shot my leg.
The compression exchanger, does it exist or not?
Yeah. I've got the Gerslers. I don't have my ship, that's all. It was impounded. I just need to ride
So,
back to my ship, that's all.
Effectively, they don't exist. And instead, you tried to steal my ship.
He kind of looks confused to Quinn for a second, because he very clearly was under the assumption that it was his. There's
Very
only
common
one-
misconception. Captain Patron. Continue. And he'll just say he's said this like to 1,000 people that they've interacted with.
Right. And he's just like rolling around in agony, kind of grabbing at his thigh where this wound is, kind of taking off this scarf that he has around his neck and trying to start to kind of apply pressure to the
You go and
wound.
step on his leg.
You're
I'm gonna say-
fucking insane. Get off of
Are you
me.
trying to tell me that you bet something you didn't have, and then you lost that bet,
No.
and then you tried to steal my ship?
No. See, you've got it all wrong. Look. I've got the parts. They're on my ship. I just need a way to get back to my ship. That's all.
And your ship is impounded, and you have the way to pay for
It's-
this?
Well, I did. And he kind of looks at Quinn.
And then you lost it all to me. Right. I don't
Well-
see how any of this is our problem. I want those Gerslerates. What's the impound fee?
And look, it's it's only
Step harder on his leg.
okay. It's 4,500.
How much did you win?
We're not taking a loss on it. It means that I'm no longer getting quite the great deal I thought I was on the compression exchanger, but it's worth it.
When
Lily
we look
pokes
at
her head
Lily-
back out from the ship. You have not. She's like, "Did you say Gerslerates?"
Full set. Full set.
Holy
Lily.
shit!
Yeah,
And
Silas
it's
is trying
not-
to figure out if those were good or not, and now he knows.
Can you bring down one of those one of the med gel? He's got
Yeah.
He's got a
got it.
gunshot wound.
And I kind of look at the guy that's on the ground now with his dumb leg, and I wink, and I'm like, no hard feelings. And I run back into the ship, and I look for med gel.
And you hear a metallic clang from up above the cargo area as one of the access panels opens up and Scoot comes tumbling out, but his legs tangled up in some hoses. Captain, we got a problem. What?
What the hell?
I see you got it right in hand.
Thank you, Scoot. Appreciate the warning.
Silas will kneel down next to the man and he will say, "We're going to get those Gersler 8s." He'll look over his shoulder to see if he's getting it right. You're going to bring us to that ship, and then you're going to sell the remains of your ship to pay for the impound fee. And then we're going to take your engines and we're going to leave you there. And if you refuse,
but
I'll kill you. And I'll do it slowly.
you can see that he is not pleased, but he forces like a pleasant smile. If you say so, boss. If you say so.
Ask him if he's got a baseball.
You have a baseball.
He kind of looks confused at you, shakes his head.
Just step on his leg one more time.
Ow!
And then he'll say, "Get him on my ship." And he'll make his way inside.
Van will just start dragging this guy on the ground, not paying too much heed to how much pain that might cause or not cause. But he will bring him to the med bay and get him patched up. We don't want him to die before we get what we're trying to get.
Absolutely.
Yeah, as Van is dragging him, Quinn will just walk along for the first moment or two and say, "I am very sorry about their behavior. Although I will say, I did offer you a good good deal. I said I would give you transport, but anyway. All right, fix him up.
And I think as you drag him further up kind of the ramp and on board, and we see that kind of cargo hatch kind of closing, this is actually where we're going to end the first session.
Wow.
Hell yeah.
Nice
Hot diggity.
job.
Nice.
All right.
So cool.
Yeah. Thank all of you so very, very much. This was incredible. This was just a lot of fun to watch come together slowly, piece by piece, and each of the pieces just made sense and fit and felt like the right choice. And that makes me really, really happy. I'm going to pass things back over to my players so that they can give any parting words that they'd like. Once again, kind of touch on where you might be able to find them, what they got going on, and then we're going to call it an afternoon. So we're going to start in reverse order with Lloyd.
Yeah, that was great. Already like a very interesting and nuanced set of characters, I think, and the connections feel really real already, which is, I think, in some ways, like thanks to the fact that you have a relationship die for everybody, so you know going in sort of how your character feels about people. I really like the dice pool system involved in this. I think it feels good. It was just like a super fun session. It was great to see everybody do the thing they're good at, or not good at, you know. And yeah, can't wait for the next one.
Excellent. Yeah, I'm really, really happy with how the system supported what we were doing. There's some elements of it that we didn't get to tonight or this afternoon, but I think they'll probably come up in some of the future encounters that we might find ourselves in, and I get a little bit more comfortable with how everything is working. But yeah, super excited. Next we have Jeff.
Yeah, that was fantastic. I'll echo what Lloyd said. Just the group of characters already feels so like wonderfully realized for a session one. There's not like the usual kind of feeling out period of like, who exactly am I playing and who are these other people playing and like how is that going to work out? Like it feels very much already like humans interacting with each other in a world rather than like people trying to formulate characters, which is a really cool feeling. And yeah, I'm the system's pretty fun so far. I dig the I actually really like the whole like emotions and values thing because it kind of makes you think about more about what your character is feeling and like why they're doing what they're doing in a way that like not a lot of systems encourage you to do. So I think that's pretty cool. But yeah, always an honor to be in a Jeremy game. You killed it with the GMing and a great crew of people. Looking forward to seeing how it shakes out.
I appreciate that, Jeff. Thank you. Yeah, and Cortex is definitely the system that when I found it, I knew that it was what I wanted to use to play Firefly, because Firefly is so not about the gunfighting and, you know, the things of that nature. It's much more about the relationships between the characters and the kinds of things that they're having to wrestle with by being these people on this extreme life choice, you know, living out in the middle of nowhere, not being able to really rely or depend on anyone else. It's very much about the people who you're with. And yeah, the emotions and the values and relationships and stuff is it feels like it captures that really, really well. So I'm very pleased with that. All right, next we have Austin.
Yeah, I don't have a whole lot more eloquent stuff to add to what everyone said. This has just been a lot of fun. I really am enjoying these characters, and it definitely got darker at the end than I anticipated, but I should have expected there was going to be a little bit of misbehaving. You know, like stepping on people's freshly wounded legs.
Wait, you've heard what me and Lloyd have been saying this entire time and didn't expect that?
No, I did expect it. I expected it. It just, you know, it's one of those like, yeah. And like, it's a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun. I'm really enjoying that. And I love the, just the kind of fun tension between all the characters where they've all got such interesting dynamics. Like there's clearly some history everywhere. So I think this is a really fun game to play. I'm interested to see where we're going with it.
Excellent. Yeah, I'm super pleased and cannot wait for the next two. All right, next we have Carrie.
Yeah, guys, this has been awesome. Thank you all so much for being patient with my lack of Firefly knowledge. I really appreciate it. I really liked this system. When you first presented this system, I was blindly confused, but it's pretty workable. It's easy to learn, and I really like how you started the session, Jeremy, with I've never seen it done before, but the first rolls we did determined the opening scenes. I really liked that. I'm going to steal that 100% because that's a great way to start and to kind of develop those relationships without it being ham-handed. So yeah, I loved it. You guys did a great job, and I'm so proud to be here.
Thank you, and I'm super happy that you're here to play a game. It's like I said, I've seen you play plenty of times, and getting you in on a game is awesome. I get to check that box. It's a really interesting system. It's hard to grasp at first. It was very daunting trying to learn it and find a concise place to figure it out, because the book, unfortunately, as beautiful as the book it is, it's very difficult to make heads or tails out of because it gives you everything. This is very much a thing about kind of using pieces. So figuring that out was difficult, but and I don't think I'm there yet, but I'm really pleased with what we've managed to kind of put together and build for this. And as far as you not having any knowledge of Firefly, I would never have known, because it's very it doesn't appear that way, down to the hammock hanging in the engine room where the mechanic sleeps. Like, honestly, it surprises me that you haven't seen it. Or like
for those that are watching the VOD, these guys were buttering me up the whole time. I was like blushing over here. I'm like, forget about it.
It's great. So yeah, I'm eager to see what else is going to happen to these characters. Last but certainly not least, we have Jake.
This is like reuniting a stellar director with an amazing theater cast and introducing in the new kid, Carrie, who just fits in amazing. Because with Carrie's sort of the addition from our old Momentum crew, minus a couple people, and I love playing with these guys, and Carrie, you fit in amazing. And it doesn't matter what we're playing. I always look forward to role playing with this group. And I've found my niche with this group is to always play the teenager opposite the others, so that I can try out different temperaments. But no, I like that both the verse and the game system kind of allows for these different character archetypes that we kind of got to build ourselves. And yeah, echoing what a lot of people have said, I think I'm the only one that didn't get to roll a dice pool this game. But that was, I think it made perfect sense, because actions I chose or chose not to do by directly avoiding confrontation with I'm a kid. What am I going to do against somebody trying to steal the ship? So that's not a complaint. That's just, but getting a sense for how this works, and kind of thinking through, well, how would Scoot handle these situations, or what emotions would play in, etc. And yeah, I love the dynamic of our characters, those echoing what Carrie said. We said at the break, Jeremy, I don't know if that's a Cortex thing or if that's a you thing, but rolling the dice to determine who you were going to put on stage for each scene was awesome. It was an excellent addition, and just really helped us to kick this thing off. And I can't wait to what is it? I guess we've got a couple more weeks, or a month for the next.
Yeah,
session.
It's going to be a little while. I think it is March 27th as the next one. Yes. So it'll be a month.
Looking forward to it.
Sit down again, but yeah, me too, man. Thank you. And yeah, the scene about, or the theme at the beginning with the scenes, that's definitely something that I just threw in there, because I wanted to not only introduce the characters, but also to showcase the different parts of the ship. And again, in Firefly, that's kind of one of the things that they established pretty early on, is that each of the characters has a part of the ship that's kind of their space. They are, master and commander of somewhat, that where they're the most comfortable to spend time on their own. But I wanted there to be interaction, and so just to randomize it, I just had the roll instead of just having people pick. I figured that would be easier. And with what we went through with session 0, I knew that everybody had a clear idea of kind of what their relationships were with each other. So it was a really fun way to explore that, introduce it very early on. So yeah, super stoked with how this went, and I'm excited to get to Act 2. But thank all of you so very much again for being such wonderful players and agreeing to come on and play in the game, as well as being trusting enough to try a brand new system and try to bring the story to the audience here on the channel. And as far as the audience goes, thank all of you so very much for tuning in with us this afternoon. It's deeply appreciated, whether you watched it live or whether you might be catching it at some point in the future. It means a ton to me. If you dig this kind of content, then hit the like button, subscribe, do all that stuff. There's plenty more on the channel. I think we are rapidly approaching 300 videos, which is a huge milestone for me. And yeah, appreciate it. I hope everybody has a wonderful week coming up, and that maybe the world becomes a little bit more of a shiny place between now and the next time that we play. But until then, I hope all of you have a fantastic time, play lots of fun games, and until next time, may your dice roll high and your snacks always be within reach.